and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where these... I'm going to start over. That was embarrassing. Hello and welcome to Too Many Movies, the podcast where we discuss DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. I'm your host, Hal, and with me here today, Terminall. Introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Terminall. Well, that's my screen name at least. I'm just your friendly neighborhood letterbox user and kind of occasional YouTuber. I don't really post much except for recently and a couple of years ago, but that's kind of it really. I do have some ideas for some other stuff as well. Yeah.
You're a regular old boy, I see.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty apt because guess what, Terminall? Today we're talking about a couple of movies. One of them is titled Oldboy, 2003. You wanted to talk about Oldboy. I say we just get right into it. Agreed?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, I guess just to set it up a little, Oldboy, it's a 2003 Korean film.
Based off a manga.
Based off
the same
manga,
name.
Yeah. And it's lauded as one of the greatest movies ever made. Definitely one of the greatest Korean films ever made. But
yeah,
and
definitely my favorite, at least one of my favorite films of all time. Now top 10. To be fair,
top 10.
Yeah,
I don't blame
just
you.
recently watch.
No, yeah, I don't blame you. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's like one of those. Like it's lauded as like a film classic at this point, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, I was like, I was like, oh boy, yeah, I guess because I've never actually seen it, we might as well talk about it. I mean, technically I had seen it, but we can get into that a little bit. You know what? Why don't you like start off with some like, thoughts? Because you said like this most recent rewatch, you like officially put it in your top 10. Like, elaborate on that.
I feel like Oldboy is one of those films that, filmmaking wise, it's kind of like my thing, really, like filmmaking wise, of the cinematography and editing. Like how artsy the film can get with its cinematography and editing, right? Yeah.
No, I agree.
Like with some some transitions in the passage of time, like in the beginning of the film. You know what I mean by that, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely noticed that while watching this film. Like, actually, so I guess before we get a little into it, I will say what I meant with the whole, like, technically I had seen it. So I watched that YMS review of it, like the remake years ago. Even though he had said at the beginning, like, please just go watch it, I'm going to spoil the hell out of it, I was stupid enough to be like, it's fine. I really felt like after watching through his analysis, I'm like, wow, I regret that, because I was kind of worried that it kind of ruined any specialness that would come from actually watching it on its own. But after actually watching it for the first time, this most recent rewatch, I was like, oh, no, this is, even if I know the big twists going in, this is still a very special film. So to go off what you're saying with all the editing and the cinematography, yeah, I did notice that, how clever a lot of those transitions were. They were they were very striking, those transitions. I loved it.
Oh yeah, before we get any further into this discussion, spoilers for Oldboy. Don't make the same mistake Hal did.
Yeah.
This is one of those movies.
Yeah. Please
do not want to get spoiled.
Please do not make the same mistake as me. I mean, it's still a great film regardless, but I do feel as though I robbed myself of truly experiencing it for the first time.
Unless you're a Shea Phillips fan, then you'll probably never watch it because it's not animated.
That's
and
true.
Not made in America.
That's true. That's true. Different language? No, thank you. I'm going to stick to Trolls.
Do you want to talk about the opening first? Like the beginning of the film?
Yeah, so the opening... So are we talking about the very opening, how it starts off with Odesu, like, holding the guy over the building, and then it hard cuts to when he's in the police station, drunk off his ass. That's a good... First of all, that adds into the editing. great hard cut.
Yeah. I also love how it immediately pulls you in right into the movie. It catches your eye.
Mm-hmm.
Like by there you're instantly intrigued on what's gonna happen next.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. It's a very striking image seeing a guy being held off of a building by just his tie, and the guy holding him is saying stuff. It's just saying like, "Oh, you need to tell my story," and then it hard cuts to when it's years ago. He's drunk. He's at a police station. It's filmed entirely from a POV where we're looking at him as if we're like the police officers. It's a very clever opening, and how it just shows our main character and where he's at in life without being too heavy-handed with it, I feel.
Yeah. I also do like the scene where he's in the police station and do you know what he says about his name, right? You remember what he says about his name?
So here's where things get a little weird. What did it say in your translation?
I actually had the movie on 4K and I watched it recently.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure it was accurate to what it is, but still, I'm pretty sure it's still the same as your translation.
Yeah, because I watched it on Netflix.
Yeah,
but it's basically, if I remember correctly, it's taking one day at a time.
Yeah, which also kind of fits into a situation like getting through the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and even though he got drunk on his daughter's birthday, he still cares for her since he got her a present.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, he's definitely a goofball and a fuck up, but not in any negative or pessimistic way. He just don't know no better, to basically say it.
Is he stupid?
Is he stupid? Yeah, he's not an asshole. He's not. Yeah. He's definitely a very flawed individual, but you're not annoyed with him. You're not. You're kind of charmed by him, even though he is a bit of a ditzy dumbass. And to hard cut contrast that with the person he eventually becomes throughout the movie, it's really something.
Yeah, and kind of heartbreaking as well.
Very heartbreaking. Fair.
Yeah, and then there's also the scene where part where he's in the prison. Like that scene is, well, the scene itself is pretty brilliant, to be fair. Like the passage of time and the descent into insanity he spirals into, kind of.
Yeah, I like how after the credits roll, after he's been kidnapped, which I love the sweeping shot of him, how he's like behind the telephone box, and then the camera kind of sweeps around his friend, and then you don't see him anymore, and you're just like, "Oh, where'd he go?" Like, it's very, very subtle.
He got deleted out of the film.
He got deleted. Exactly. And then the credits roll, and then it hard cuts to the guy to it's the shot of him. It's the shot of the little door that's at the bottom of the door holding him, and he's like waiting there. And he's just begging the guards, just being like, "Oh, it's been 2 months, man. Like, why am I still here?" I like that. I like that we're 2 months into his imprisonment, so to say, because it show we didn't need him to discover it firsthand. I feel like you could still get the idea of imprisonment and the shock it would cause your mental state by like dropping us in 2 months in, I feel like.
And then after that we see him looking at the painting, and you laugh, the world laughs but if you weep alone.
That hits hard. Yeah, that's a very good line. That's a very good
especially
quote.
Later on in the film.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you'd think one of the biggest aspects of the movie would be him being imprisoned for 15 years. But I like that it's kind of not. It's kind of just the first half an hour, if even that, of the movie.
Yeah. Well, first 20 minutes to be exact.
First 20
minutes.
It'd
be funny if it was 10 minutes longer, It hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good thing that doesn't exist.
Yeah, not yet, Mindy, not
Totally.
yet. But but even still, I like that even though we do kind of chop up his time in the being imprisoned, basically I really like how we get like increments of like little scenes of him throughout the 15 years. Like it's not just like you don't feel as though you're there for 15 years, but you definitely see it reflected on him in the performance.
And he's so desperate, and his only connection to the outside world is basically just the TV.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the whole incorporation of the television being his only being a lot of things for him. His friend, as he said, clock, calendar, church, family, lover. Like it's everything for him.
Speaking
That's
speak,
that's so
speaking of
cool.
lover, he also masturbates to just some women dancing.
He essentially masturbates to K-pop. Yeah.
Wait a minute, masturbation? End of Evangelion reference?
Oh
Boom.
no! Oh no! What is Odesu doing at the hospital? No!
I had to bring that up.
You had to, of course. It's never gonna leave us.
Incredible film, but it's still funny. Still fun to make fun of.
Of course, of course.
Yeah. Okay. And then there's also the scene, and then you can also see them like whenever they turn they put on the gas in order to make him fall asleep. They also take some stuff that he touched for evidence.
I did like that. How
Yeah.
the first time we see that, you don't exactly know what they're doing, but you don't like it. You feel something sketchy's happening, and then it
Yeah.
does hard cut. Next day, he's watching the news, and it says, "Oh, his wife was murdered," and you're just like, "Oh no!"
Yeah, and then he kind of completely snaps and starts hallucinating.
Yes, that is when
Yeah.
he starts like hallucinating.
Yeah, and then he tries to kill himself, but well, they stop him from doing it.
Yeah, they won't even let him do that, which is
Yeah,
royally fucked.
yeah,
But I like that. I like how even though these are increments and this is all spread across a long period of time, it still feels as though these scenes are purposeful. We're seeing what needs to be seen because it builds upon itself to the next sequence. I like
yeah,
that. It feels like there's purpose made behind this movie.
yeah. I also like how years into his imprisonment he starts writing down some names of people that he think he might have wronged in the past.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Though and if I'm being honest, for later in the film, it kind of, from what I think about it, it kind of makes sense why he didn't think of the main villain, since he never knew his name and did not even know much about him.
Yeah, he technically never knew him, and so he never really took it into account. And it was such a little thing to him where he had buried it in his mind, which we'll get in. I guess that ties into it later, the whole hypnotism thing, but we don't have to get into that just yet.
To be fair, the thing that he saw, I wouldn't blame him if he buried it in his mind, considering, well, I wouldn't want to see that either.
Yeah, no, nobody wants to see that. Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's just really engaging to see this man locked up for that long. I do like how at the beginning like the narration says, "Oh, if I had known if they had told me it was going to be 15 years, would that have made things easier or harder?" I like that because that tells us how long it's going to be. But also I feel like it is significant in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he also starts putting tallies on his hand in order to signify how long he's been there for.
That was really cool. Yeah, he starts tattooing his hand.
And then he figures that, and then he gets an extra chopstick in his meal, and he's planning his escape.
I like that because it starts off as him noticing he has a third chopstick, and he goes, "Oh, I just feel sorry for the guy next door who only got one chopstick." But then,
Womp womp.
but and it's funny, but then it's purposeful because it leads to him eventually trying to escape. So again, there's purpose. It's not just a one-off thing like, oh, the guy next door has an extra chopstick, or I have an extra chopstick that guy next door doesn't. Womp womp. It's like, no, there's purpose. It builds upon itself.
We also get a montage of time passing, including a turning red reference. 9/11.
I was thinking about that. As I like that how he's escaping, and years are going by, and the way you see that years are going by is you see significant events, and I like that a lot of them are crucial to South Korea. So it's saying new president, such and such. Like a lot of these events I'm not familiar with, probably because I'm not familiar with South Korean history. But the two I was familiar with is Princess Diana dying, because that was significant news when that happened. And of course, 9/11, because that was huge when that happened.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, come on. Of course it was huge when it happened, and it's huge still to this day. It was kind of a big event. You couldn't miss it.
Yeah. Well, I did. I did not even exist.
That's true. And I was, 3? Not even?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it affected a lot of people back then.
Yeah. Of course. It was, but again, it was significant. Even though it didn't happen in South Korea, it was still significant enough that I'm sure on the TV that day, it would have been playing.
Yeah. And it's also televised since he is watching it through the TV.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then a month before he's supposed to escape, he's let go. In the suitcase, at least.
Yeah, he's hypnotized. So here's the thing with the hypnotism, because I guess we can get a little into that. I remember reading my friend Uncultured Swine's review for this movie, how he kind of says that hypnotism is a bit of a cheap trick when it comes to screenwriting. And I do agree. I feel like with this movie, I can forgive it because there is purpose to the hypnotism. And I feel like by the end, it all comes together. So I'm fine. But it is weird because, well, it's hypnotism. It is kind of I know hypnotism exists in real life, but I guess because I haven't experienced it, I'm like very skeptical of it being legitimate, you know?
Yeah. It also makes some of twists later on make more sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Now,
I do understand why it's there in order for some twists to come to light. I'm just saying, objectively speaking, I am a bit of a skeptic when it comes to the legitimacy of hypnotism. But it's a movie. I'm willing to forgive it. And considering where it goes, I'm fine with it. It's just something I wanted to bring up.
Yeah. And whenever he's hypnotized, he's told to look at the other side of the bed, which turns out to be grass. Then it transitions to a grassy field of a suitcase.
That's cool. I love that they took the extra mile of having, like, they shot him in a bed looking, like, turning his head, and you start to see all the grass. That's great. I love that.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And then we see that guy with the dog that's about to kill himself. Yeah. And then he decides to be gay. No offense.
Well, because the suicidal guy with the dog is the first human he's had contact with in 15 years. So he doesn't care. It's human contact outside of a TV screen.
Yeah. It kind of looks like he's trying to make sure he isn't dreaming, which I think works.
Yeah, that's a good point too. He's like, oh, is this a dream? No, it's real. I'm out of the hotel room.
Yeah, hotel Liu Jen.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I do like how he tells his story to the suicidal guy. And then the suicidal guy is like, let me tell you my story. And then Odesu just walks away. The suicidal guy does kill himself when he jumps onto the car.
his story is probably that they delayed Venom 3.
Yeah, maybe. What I like about that,
Even though this movie takes place in 2003, he predicted the future.
he knew. He knew.
Yeah.
What I love about that is it's funny, but morbidly funny. I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel as though a lot of Korean movies really get the morbidly funny down pretty well. Like,
Yeah.
it reminds me of the sense of humor that Parasite and The Host have.
Yeah.
Those
And
movies.
Memories of Murder.
I haven't seen
Yeah.
Memories of Murder, but I
Yeah.
would assume because it's
Oh,
from
yeah.
Bong Joon-ho. Yeah, they have some dark sense of humor over there, and I
Yeah.
love it. I'm all for it. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. There's also the scene where he's in the elevator with that woman, which speaks for itself.
I almost forgot about that. But yeah, I love that clip. How he's in the elevator and his narration goes, "A human woman." I'm just like, "Oh, dude, same."
What is he, a Twitter user?
Yeah. He must be.
Wait, no, no, X. X would be publicly executed if I called it Twitter.
Well,
Please, I may have been trapped in Elon's okay, no.
Yeah, no. It's okay. I'm not trapped in Elon's hellscape. I don't use Twitter no more.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about when he confronts those street thugs, because that is a moment I noticed, to bring up the translation thing again. So in YMS's video, he talks about how, and I noticed this, not only does Adam bring it up, but I noticed in the actual subtitles in his video, they call him a dick shit. And Adam even says the reason they call him a dick shit is because, and then it's significant because, Desu notices that he hasn't heard any of those words in 15 years because he's mostly been consuming stuff through television. And there's even the line, television doesn't teach you curse words. But in the Netflix version, they don't say dick shit, they say fucktard.
Oh, that's on my 4K as well.
Okay, it says fucktard. Okay, which I think is funnier because
in every way.
I believe a street thug would say fucktard over dick shit. I would believe they say those words. I don't know. I think that's funnier, but also I absolutely believe I feel like I would definitely come across people who would say fucktard over dick shit. It still works though, because they are neither of those words you would hear on television.
Definitely not that.
No, definitely not. But it still works.
We also get the first fight scene, which is also pretty good. Oh yeah, we also forgot to mention that he also trains throughout the montage in prison.
Yeah, that's something I'm still a little weirded out by. Again, I'm willing to forgive it because it's a movie. But the fact that he can just fight guys, even though all he's done is fight in a hotel room by himself for 15 years. But I am willing to forgive it because, again, it's a movie. But also, you definitely see the different kinds of fighting he does while training in his hotel room for all those years. He's not just punching the wall. I feel like he's doing some kicks. He's doing some different things. Like he's building his skill set. And plus the fact he's not perfect at it. He still gets his ass kicked, but he's still able to kick ass.
Yeah. And then he goes to this sushi restaurant where he's given a phone and wallet by an old man who doesn't know what's going on.
I like how the old man is immediately like, "Don't ask me. I don't know anything."
Yeah. Though he wouldn't want to know anyway.
Oh, that's also great. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we also see the first thing he eats after the phone call with Lee Woo Jin, where he, you remember what he says?
Something to the effect of, "Who are you?" Right? Or because Lee Woo Jin asks him, "How do you like the new clothes?" Yeah, that's great. I love that.
Yeah, and then he eats a live octopus as the first thing he eats.
So good.
Eats other than dumplings for 15 years and only dumplings.
Yeah.
Which I think works since he kind of has an urge to kill after the imprisonment, and he's kind of gone insane.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to note about the dumplings is I think I read this somewhere that dumplings are usually seen as side orders in South Korea, or like they're traditionally, I guess maybe not specifically for South Korea, but they are traditionally side orders. And so he was essentially for 15 years getting somebody else's side order this whole
Damn.
time, which I think is really effective. I mean, it still works even if it was like the main course. It still works because it's the same thing over and over again. That's dehumanizing, but I still think I think that kind of adds to it. The whole, oh, you're getting the trimmings, the side dish essentially.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, the first thing he eats is a live octopus, and oh, it's such a good
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah. You know about the Squidward killing machine, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. That's Squidward's second biggest fear.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the two things that can kill Squidward.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I should probably make a meme of that
Oh, please
or
do.
something. Yeah. Not right now though.
No, we got a podcast to do.
Yeah. And then he faints after the woman touches his hand.
Yeah, that's what happens. He faints when the woman touches his hand, and because he hasn't been in the sun for very long, it kind of messes with his systems.
Yeah. And then it turns out that she took him to his. I mean, no, she took him to her place
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah,
heal him.
it is a little weird. It makes sense eventually. I feel like the hypnotism does help with this because you're kind of like, why did you bring this random stranger to your house? But again, I feel like because of the hypnotism, you need that hypnotism aspect because some things you don't have any control over. So I do kind of appreciate that.
Yeah. And then after some dialogue, she goes into the restroom and remember during the fight scene whenever he says if the imaginary training pulled off.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, in the bathroom scene, well, yeah, he
That's right.
says that it did not pull off here, which
No.
well, it's kind of fucked up in that scene to be fair.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. That's a good point. The whole he just bursts into the bathroom and tries to take advantage of her. Like our main character tries to take advantage
Yeah.
of a defenseless woman. That's
Yeah.
fucked up. But I
It
mean,
kind of makes sense why in context, even though it's
Yeah.
wrong.
but I like that. I like that this movie's willing to go that far with our main character. Like it wants us to feel uncomfortable around him now because it's just like, oh, what is this dude capable of?
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I really, really appreciate when a movie or any sort of media is not afraid to have their main character be a bit of an asshole, be a bit of a psychopath, be someone who's not squeaky clean. Like I feel as though some movies, some we'll get into, are a little afraid as to fleshing out their characters or making them actually horrible.
Some examples of this include some gangster films like Goodfellas and Once Upon a Time in America. If you've seen Goodfellas, well, yeah.
I've seen Goodfellas. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a movie that's not afraid to show its main characters as horrible human trash, but you still want to. They're still likable and charismatic enough that you still want to see them through to the end. Same thing here.
Yeah.
It's not an impossible balance to make. It's a very difficult balance. I admit it. That's why a lot of movies and shows will just kind of straight up neuter their characters and make them completely likable and so perfect all the time. And the times they do attempt to make the likable assholes, it backfires so much that they become way worse in that case. Again, we'll get to that, but I feel like this is definitely a difficult balance considering, yes, you have the bathroom scene, but it is necessary. And I appreciate the movie because I do think it succeeds in that sense, because the rest of the movie, I'm still rooting for Odesu, even though he did do the bathroom scene.
Yeah. Yeah. And then after the bathroom scene, he says that he thinks he deserves to die for that, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
Considering.
he is self-aware, which
Yeah.
is huge. Like, he understands that doesn't excuse it, but at least he understands that it's wrong and that he's a bit of a monster.
Yeah. And then afterwards, wait a minute, do they look for dumplings next, or is there more?
I think we could. I mean, we're not going to get to everything. I feel like we are talking a lot about the stuff that I'm glad you took notes, because I forgot some of the stuff, but now that I am remembering it, I am really starting to appreciate that stuff. So anything you want to talk about, please, by all means.
Yeah. Since he had dumplings 15 years and the thing was left in the food, suggesting that it came from Blue Dragon, they start looking through a restaurant to see if it be exact same taste. Since considering the fact that he had the same dumplings for 15 years from the same place, he cannot really forget the taste.
Yeah. I like that aspect. I think that's really cool how they're going to all these different restaurants and he has to try all of them, even though he'd be sick of the taste by now, but he still wouldn't forget it. I love that.
Yeah. And the score goes hard, to be fair.
Absolutely. Oh, the music is just wonderful. Not just
it might actually be one of my favorite film scores of all time.
Yeah, not just the classical music, which I love the classical music implementation they use, but
I get to that.
Even the original stuff.
Yeah, like with the beginning of the film with the music, where with the opening logos, it builds up, then it builds up to that very first shot, then it reaches the high. Yeah, but back to where we were at. Apparently he might is doing FaceTime with the film talking about sushi. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I love just seeing early internet stuff in movies like that. And it doesn't feel, I mean, it feels dated because you see the level of computers they're using. But it doesn't feel like typical early 2000s internet usage where it was written by an old person who doesn't understand the internet. It honestly feel like, now that I'm thinking of it, it's actually pretty of the times, as if the directors and the filmmakers actually understood the internet and they knew how to use it. And I do like that it's not just, not to go right ahead to the 2013 movie, but it definitely it never talks down to the main character being like, oh, this is the internet, oh, it's this new thing. It never talks down to the main character in that aspect, ergo talking down to the audience with being like, oh, this is the internet, we use this every day. It's like, no, it matter-of-factly describes the internet to the main character. So then he eventually he does get it. He does understand, even though he wasn't around when it first came into prominence.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention before the dumpling scene when Maito talks about her loneliness. We also see a giant ant in the train.
Oh, I forgot about the ant. Oh, that was great. That's great.
Yeah,
I love that. I love that because, well, it ties into the ant imagery with Odesu getting the ants all over him. But yeah, I love the imagery of this gigantic ant in a subway.
But does it compare to the gigantic ant playing the drums in Ant-Man and the Wasp? I don't think so.
That's true.
Oh, Park Chan-wook 0.
Yeah.
Kevin Feige 25.
Exactly. Yeah. How many MCU films has Park Chan-wook directed? I didn't think so.
Yeah. Does any of his films have MODOK ass? I don't think so. No, anyways.
I haven't even seen Quantumania, and I'm sure it's better than Oldboy.
Yeah, obviously. It has MODOK. What do you expect? Yeah, I even made a shit post copy pasta that Isabel copy pasta for Animal Crossing, right?
I don't know if I'm familiar enough with it. I don't know if
The
I
one where the
want to
guy
be.
is, oh, yeah, the one where the guy is horny for Isabel.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I knew I didn't want to know it, but yeah, that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, I made a I mainly revised that copy pasta replace Isabel of Modoc for April Fools.
April Fools. You mean you're not serious?
Yeah, obviously. I did it for 3 years already. Yeah, I think I may have gone too far this year, though. To be fair,
Yeah.
with my Spider-Verse view. Okay, now back to the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then afterwards he finds out that what he's been looking for is actually wrong, and that paper was actually missing the blue dragon purple, I think, or
Yeah, it
purple
was
blue dragon.
Purple Blue Dragon. That's what it was.
Oh,
Because he finds it, he tries the dumplings. It's the same dumplings, and that's when he finds the. He follows the delivery boy, which I love. I love the hard cuts to him chasing the delivery boy like down the street, and then it cuts to him delivering it, and he's just like out of breath. He's just like, oh,
yeah,
oh. Great
mm,
character moment.
yeah.
I love that.
He just, not only out of breath, he's violently out of breath, considering how fast he ran.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Considering how far it was, absolutely.
yeah. With no brakes, probably, since, well, yeah,
No,
you're probably,
he's chasing a guy on a bike,
yeah.
which then leads us into him infiltrating the place where he was imprisoned for 15 years,
And you
which
know what?
leads to the very famous hallway scene.
Yeah. Wait. Before we talk about the hallway scene, can I just talk about that? Whenever he holds that guy up with a hammer, and then we
That's
see that
iconic.
line going. Yeah, that's just brilliant. We don't even see his possible death. We just
Yeah.
know what's gonna happen. And then there's the torture scene.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Does the
Yeah,
torture scene happen before the hallway scene?
yeah, it did.
It did. It did. Yeah, it had to have. Yeah, I love. Torture scene again to bring up the classical music. Great use of the classical music. It's because I'm not always into irony scenes where something horrific is happening and the music is kind of light, just to offset the horribleness that's happening. But I feel like this is where this movie definitely earns it because
Yeah, it's so freaking good. He basically
yeah.
just pulls out teeth. So even if he wanted to speak where tape was, is he could not, since he's
Mhm.
getting his teeth pulled.
Oh, dude,
And
and the
and
teeth
it's
pulling, the close up. Oh,
it is, oh god.
so good. I don't know how they filmed that practically, but I'm so
Yeah,
impressed with that.
yeah, brilliant. And whenever he talks with where the tape is, instead of him just speaking, we get other subtitles because he cannot really talk all that well.
Hmm.
Yeah, which is brilliant. And then he grabs the tape, and then we get to the hot iconic hallway scene.
Oh, dude, it was just as good as I was anticipating.
Yeah,
I was thoroughly impressed because again, it's not like it's a flawless fight where he's just kicking ass and not getting any damage. He is essentially getting his ass kicked, but
yeah,
he's determined, so he's still getting up. And even though he gets a knife in the back, he gets punched in the face multiple times, he's still able to kick their asses. And I do like how it doesn't fall for the same cliches of, oh, one guy out of a million goons starts fighting him. Like he starts fighting the goons one at a time. You see the hallway, how it actually looks.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
crowded. So it makes sense that one guy would probably be getting to him at a time. It's filmed flawlessly. It's an iconic moment for a reason,
yeah.
you know.
And it also feels realistic as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And
So
then he also gets a knife on the back. No special move for anything. Just during the fight, he gets a knife on the back.
yeah, it's great. And it goes on for 3 minutes, right? Which doesn't sound
Yeah,
like a lot, but the fact that it's all one take, and when you're actually experiencing it for one long take, it does feel longer than it actually is, which is a
yeah,
testament to how good it is.
yeah. and then after he fights the goons, there's also more goons in the elevator.
I love that. The
And
hard cut to
yeah.
the goons in the elevator. Yeah.
And then there's another hard cut where he just walks out and the goons just fall out.
That's great. That's good.
Yeah.
Again, this movie does have some fucked up elements to it, but the comedy is like perfect. It's so good.
Also, I'm pretty sure he also questions if he can ever return to a normal life after his revenge is complete.
I did like that. That's when he was questioning that.
Yeah.
After he had just beaten up a bunch of hired goons in a hallway and then in an elevator, and he's walking down the street in public, drenched in blood. Yeah, that's when he's questioning, will I ever be able to return to normalcy? In which case, when I was watching this, I was just like, oh, no fucking way. Which is fucked, but I feel like that's what the movie's going for. And this is great because he's walking down the street. Some kind random stranger comes up to him and helps him into a taxi, and it's just like helps him into that taxi. But who is that random stranger?
Li Wu Jin.
We get him we see his face for the first time. It's a great reveal. How he just sticks his head in, and you see his face. He's just like, fair. What did he say? Like, so long, Odesu, or feel better? What does he say exactly?
I think so long, Odesu, for now. I think that's what he's
for now. And then, oh, dude, so good, so good.
Yeah. And then afterwards, he's sent back to Umaido's place.
Yeah. So is that? So that's when he's okay. So that's because this is after he's gotten stabbed in the back. So she's tending to his wounds, and then what happens next? You remember better than
he listens to the tape.
Right. That's when he listens to the tape that he was there. He was at the compound to get to. Yes.
Yeah. Do you think it's too far to imprisonment 15 years? He speaks too much.
Oh,
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Little clues, little details to make you think, to make you marinate and ponder. Like you're pondering with the main character. What could this mean?
And then when does he stop trusting Maido?
Isn't that the part when he stops trusting Maido?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure, since she has some connections to the villain, even though she's perfectly reasonable to trust. It makes sense why he wouldn't trust her.
Yeah, that's one of the things, is that because he was talking to the villain, because she was talking to the villain on the internet earlier, that caused some distrust in him. But that distrust has still not gone away.
Yeah. And then we find out where Li Wujin and his henchman is, and it's right next door.
Right, that's when we get to the Li Wujin, and that's when we get like the big scene of Li Wujin kind of revealing, not necessarily. He basically is starting to ramp up like where the movie's going. That's where he gives Odesu the ultimatum of, hey, you need to answer 2 questions. Who am I, and why did I imprison you for 15 years? And if you don't, your daughter dies, but you can't torture it out of me because I have a weak heart, and I will kill myself without you ever knowing. And I love that. I love that.
I will also... Oh, wait, you can finish.
No, I was just going to say, I love that that's... He kind of taunts Odesu with that. He goes, you could kill me, but then you would never know the answer. And I feel like the answer is such a goal for Odesu that he's willing to go through the villain's bullshit just to find out. Because we as the audience want to know, because, well, we're the audience. We want to know where the movie's going. But also, he was trapped in there for 15 years. And even though he's a bit of a monster now, he's been dehumanized for so many years, there is still that part of him that wants to know, that kind of humanistic passion for wanting to know stuff. Like, the animalistic side of us would probably just be like, no, I'm just going to kill you. But there is that part of us in our in the humanity side of him that's still there to be like, I need to know why. You know what I'm getting at?
Yes, I do. and then it turns out that Odysseus left the door unlocked.
He's not very smart. Is he stupid?
Yeah. What are you, stupid or something? More like, oh, stupido.
Oh, stupido. Yeah.
Stupido. Persona 3 references.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I do like that because then we do, Park Chu Woong, the guy who runs the hotel that he was staying at that he was imprisoned at for 15 years, and all his hired goons come there to get Mito just to mess with Odesu, and then they're about to kill Odesu, and then the villain just steps in, is just like, no, he's mine.
It was also about to pull his teeth out, which, well, makes sense considering.
That's great. Well, that's great because you see the guy and he already has replacement teeth, and he's just like, I saw a very good dentist. And I like that some of the hired goons have like bandages wrapped around them or neck braces to imply that they were part of the hallway scene. Like little details like that I love.
It's cool. If you touch Mito's breast, I'll cut off your hand.
Yeah. But then he just pushes him over.
Yeah. And then they leave the house, and Mito quits her job.
And that's
when they bond a bit.
Yeah, they're starting to really take the revenge aspect seriously. They're just like, no, we need to find this out. So that's when they go to that's when they go to the internet cafe, and that's where they meet his friend.
Yeah.
And that's where they go on the internet there to try and research and discover Evergreen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where it is. Oh, there's so many scenes, and again, they're so intertwined with one another. Like the pacing is so good.
Yeah, and then they find out, and then they do some research on Li Wujin's sister, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
that's when the pieces are starting to come together.
They also go there, and then wait a minute, when do Odesu and Mito have Gex?
That does happen around this time, yes.
Yeah.
Which, and it doesn't necessarily come out of nowhere because these characters have been together. They're spending time together. You know, passions are starting to rise. In which case, Gex does happen.
Yeah. There's like a Gex scene in literally like all the Park Chan-wook films I've seen so far. The most tame one was in Decision to Leave, and that was pretty tame, to be fair.
Okay.
Like really tame.
Yeah.
So that movie's excellent. And the scene is like in Oldboy, well, it's like a guy having sex for the first time in 15 years.
Yeah, no, it absolutely makes sense. It's a shame that it makes sense, as we'll get to. But no, it's entirely worth it. Like it's an entirely worthwhile scene. I will not hear the sex scene shouldn't be in movies crowd. Like no. Not only does it add to the twist, it makes sense considering the context of him being locked up for 15 years.
Though there were some unnecessary plot scenes in 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, that is true. Very true. Very true.
Yeah. But that's an episode that'll probably never happen.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. Okay. Now back to Oldboy.
Back to a good movie.
Yeah. Where they find out about Li Wujin's sister.
That's right, because that's when they do go to Evergreen. Because then they find her in the yearbook when they go to Evergreen, which Evergreen is still around in this movie. It's still a functioning school.
Yeah. Would it be fun if it wasn't a functioning school?
Well.
Yeah. Yeah, and then but and then and then he's talking to his friend, and then he starts shit talking her, and you know what's also in the room with his friend?
Li Wu Jin. Which
Yeah.
I love. That's right, because before he realized he was bugged when they got the guy's hand, and that's what I love. I love the shot of him walking into the store, and he holds up the note that says, "We are bugged. Can you please find it?" Like that's awesome. I love that.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, because they found out they were bugged, they get the bug out of him, and then they go to Evergreen. And so Li Wu Jin, he needs to track where they're going, so he goes to the internet cafe where Odesu's friend is. Odesu's friend starts shit talking his sisters, calling her a slut. Oh, and I love this. He pulls out the CD disc out of the CD tray out of a computer, breaks it, goes over to the friend, and starts stabbing the shit out of him with a broken CD. Oh,
He should have also been screaming horror. Definitely make the scene better.
well, that's a different auteur.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, but it's
Definitely.
so cool. It's so cool. The broken CD, I love that, and just
Yeah.
stabbing the shit out of him,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
then
And
leads Odesu to going. Yeah,
have a
that's right.
mental breakdown in the van.
Yeah, having a mental breakdown. I love that. How
Yeah.
he's going insane because that's his friend. It was his only remaining living friend from before he went into imprisonment, and now
First he lost his wife, then his friend. How
yeah,
tragic.
it's very tragic.
Unironically.
Yeah,
That's sad.
I do want to talk about the because we don't have to talk about every scene, but I do want to talk
Yeah.
about the remembering scene when he goes back to the school and
Oh god.
he's trying
Yeah, that's
and he's trying to remember the day because I love how he tries to remember the day because
yeah.
yeah, you never see him and his younger self in the same frame. And the editing
Yeah.
is very clever with him like transitioning between him and his younger self as he's like running through. It's like vague scenes out of the Muppet Christmas Carol, like when
Yeah.
Michael Caine goes back to the past and sees
Mhm.
all these shitty games that suck ass.
Yeah. To be fair, there was also an AVGN Christmas Carol, so
Oh, how about that?
yeah. Yeah. And then he follows Li Wu Jin and his sister to
Yeah.
the scene.
So
Oh my god, the scene.
the
Oh god.
scene, it's a very uncomfortable scene. I'm glad it's uncomfortable because, well,
Yeah.
it's a very uncomfortable situation. So,
Yeah.
um,
If
but it's not,
consi-
it's not glorified in any way. Like you
yeah.
definitely feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. The scene feels like it gets worse and worse every frame.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I feel like it doesn't get so explicit. Like it does, but it doesn't go too far.
Yeah.
I feel like it's still subtle. Like the fact that it's even happening is already bad, but
Yeah.
it doesn't go too far that it becomes like exploitative or glorification. It's very done tastefully for what it is. And
Yeah.
considering the subject matter, I think it handles it brilliantly.
Eh.
Um, and again, then when they see him, he like runs away, and then it immediately hard cuts to him talking to his friend, being like, "Yeah, I saw them. They were in the room.
Don't tell anyone.
Don't tell anyone." And I love how it is treated more like, you know, kind of gossip, like high school gossip.
Yeah.
Like it's not a big deal. Like yeah, it was just kind of weird. Like it was really weird. Like he wasn't thinking about the implications of what he was just watching. One,
Yeah.
he probably didn't understand what he was watching because he's a child at that age. But
Mhm.
like also, it's just like you could barely see with like the hole. Like it was just I don't know, just all these different elements to just to show just how he wouldn't have remembered it years later. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, because he is the one who did start the rumor, or he did. Well, it wasn't even really a rumor because he did see what he saw, but because said that then caused a whole domino effect to happen,
Yeah.
leading to yes, the sister does kill herself.
Yeah.
And I like the implication of, I was thinking about this because it was a little weird, the whole like phantom pregnancy thing, but I feel like YMS did explain it. It's never truly explained if it really was that. Like some things are left up to interpretation, which I do appreciate because it then makes kind of the analysis a little more interesting.
Yeah.
And thus the
they
psychology
also
of the villain.
Yeah. Odysseus also puts, but it's Mito in the hotel room since he made a deal with that guy and Ainoid to make sure she's safe.
Yeah.
And to release her on the 5th.
Yeah, because he wants her to be safe because he's confronting the villain. Yeah, I like that. He's confronting the villain, and she's basically telling him you don't have to, but he's so centered on he's so centered on getting his revenge. He has nothing left anymore.
Yeah, and then we get to the final act.
Dude, the climax. I was anticipating it. It's just as good. It's just as good actually experiencing it.
He even kills 2 guys with a toothbrush.
I love that.
Toothbrush of all things.
The toothbrush. I like how the toothbrush, you don't really see the toothbrush until it like cuts back to when he's in the bathroom, and then it like shows him grab the toothbrush, and then it cuts immediately back and he snaps it in half, and that's when he starts stabbing the guys. Like, brilliant editing.
Yeah. And then he starts talking, and then Li Wujin starts talking to him, and then Odysseus thinks that what did Odysseus say again?
So
I kind of forget.
Well, this is when Odysseus is essentially giving his answers. He's saying, your name is Li Wujin, and you locked me away because I blabbed about you and your sister, causing her to kill herself, and you blame me for that. Which, yeah, Li Wujin does blame him for that.
Yeah.
I like the scene because I love the shots of him like looking in the mirror, looking at Odysseus, kind of showing that he doesn't even really want to face Odysseus. Like, he's so, like, I don't know. There's something with the mirror because of like the way it's shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then there is the real question: why did Li Wujin release Odysseus? Oh god.
And it leads
for 15 years, in fact.
Yeah, it's because realistically, the real punishment comes after the imprisonment when you really think about it.
Yeah, he uses a laser pointer and points at the president, and I love how he sings, cries, and he hums, cries, and whispers his theme. That theme is so good.
So good.
It's also the theme of a Evergreen Academy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do love how it's revealed, the whole reveal, which, again, spoilers. We've pretty much set up the spoilers, but yeah. If you thought the only incest was with Li Wujin and his sister, oh mama.
Oh, Dessa, you are big. What the fuck?
Yeah. And I love how it's revealed. So the photo album, you see his daughter, the picture that he has at the beginning of the photo album, and he starts going through the photo album with, start to see his daughter grow up to eventually become Mito, who he had sex with. So yeah, he fucked his daughter, and you're just like, oh,
holy crap, is that a Fire Emblem reference? Okay. that probably did happen in one of the Fire Emblem games, to be fair. I'm not going to say which one, but still.
Yeah. It's so fucked up.
Yeah, it's fucked.
But that's what makes this movie so brilliant, because you would, now, yes, was I expecting it? Absolutely, because I knew it going in. But the reveal is so expertly like unfolded that it doesn't matter if you know. You're still like the build up to it is still brilliantly told, that you're still on board when it eventually happens. You're just like, it's still shocking, you know?
Yeah.
It's still so shocking. Um, and I love how he just immediately snaps and just goes to try and kill Li Wu Jin,
Yeah.
leading to such a to a pretty cool fight between him and the henchman.
Yeah.
And I love like the fight, how it eventually, like, he gets the scissors into the henchman's ears, but you don't see that. What you see is the henchman's ears start to like pour blood out of his ear,
Yeah.
and then
Damn.
he starts, like, his eyes roll in the back of his head, and he loses all composure. It's and what's
Holy-
great, what's absolutely brilliant, is Li Wu Jin is the one who kills his own henchman. Now that's a bit of a trope where a villain will just use his own henchman as very expendable and will just kill his own henchman on a whim. I do like that trope because it does show how little the villain cares. So, and I think in this movie it definitely makes sense because Odesu can't even beat up the henchman. Like, it's Li Wu Jin who kills the guy in that. In that
Heck, I don't even think the henchman can even hear Li Wu Jin, to
Yeah.
be fair.
I don't know. It's just a really cool trope, and I like when it's done right. I love seeing it in movies.
Oh yeah, can I talk about the manga real quick?
Yeah. So this is based off a manga. Yeah. If you want to bring it up.
Well, the incest thing is actually original to the film.
Really?
Yeah.
So wait, the Odesu incest is original to the film.
Yeah, and the Li Wu Jin thing is also original.
Really?
This is actually one of those adaptations that people consider better than the original source material.
Well, what happens in the original source material?
The original twist, instead of a twist at the end. You want me to tell you the original twist?
Yeah, just please.
It's pretty stupid. I wrote it down in my notes.
Well. Now that you've described it as stupid, I have to know it. I love stupid twists. Please, I need to know it now.
Apparently, the villain sang a song in school that showed his loneliness, which caused the main character to cry since it moved him, and since he understood his loneliness, he was unable to function in society, even though he became a millionaire. So he trapped him in for 10 years in order to see if he could become a worse person than him, which he doesn't. From what I've heard, it's very different.
That's. I mean, I can kind of see where the story would be going with that, but that's
dumb.
Yeah, that's even more. See, this movie, for as grounded as it is, does pull some conveniences, but again, because it's so grounded and because it handles these weird things like the hypnotism and the whole build up to the incest thing, like the fact that all of this happens just because like the villain has been planning this for years. He's wasted his whole life for years on this whole revenge plot. It's like, it's stupid objectively, but I'm willing to forgive it because it's a movie and because it is expertly crafted in unfolding this layer by layer.
Yeah.
Basically.
And the reason why kind of makes sense in the movie, unlike in the manga.
Yeah, the manga, well, that sounds even less realistic. Like, that's just stupid. Like, that is insanely stupid. And
the manga is like almost 100 chapters long.
Wow. Yeah, no, at least with the movie, it's such a depraved and ugly secret that you understand why he went the lengths that he did.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then Odesu started, and then it turns out Li Wu Jin is still friends with the guy that runs the hotel and threatens to show Mito the secret.
Well, what's interesting about that is, so they set that up to show, she has a box over at the hotel. Is she gonna open it? And this leads to Odesu's acting his heart out. It's so good seeing him like beg on the phone, being like, no, do not open it. And that's when he's begging on his knees to Li Wu Jin, being like, please, for the love of God, like, don't let her see that. And he's doing all this begging, all this, like, I'll act like a dog for you. I'm kissing your feet. I'm kissing your shoes. And the whole time, I love the pan up to Li Wu Jin just holding back his laughter because he is satisfied. He's getting everything he's ever dreamed of. All this buildup, all this years of planning this revenge, and he's experiencing the fruit of his labor in those couple of minutes. It's haunting. It's absolutely haunting.
Yeah. And also the dog thing is also foreshadowing for Lady Vengeance, his next film, where the main character of Oldboy also plays a villain of Lady Vengeance, and the main character has a dream of his head on a villain's head on a dog, and she shoots it.
Oh, no kidding! I haven't seen Lady Vengeance. That sounds awesome. Yeah. I gotta see this now.
Yeah, that's a dream sequence, but it's really good. I recommend the film.
That's awesome.
It's on Tubi.
Cool.
Yeah,
Tubi wins
different.
again.
It's different from Oldboy, but still.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I love that. I love how Li Wu Jin is absolutely like adoring these couple of minutes of having this guy he's hated for almost 20 years just begging at his feet, and he can't contain his laughter. It's diabolical. You feel so disgusted, but like at the same time, you can't turn away. You're enthralled.
Yeah. And then he cuts off his tongue, which is just
brutal.
The thing that started all of this.
Yeah,
kind of, since
he couldn't keep his mouth shut.
Yeah, and then that's where Li Wu Jin is satisfied, and then he drops the thing that is supposed to kill him.
So as he had said, "Oh, I have a weak heart, and I have this remote control that will stop my heart. And if you try to torture or kill me, I'll just kill myself with this remote." So he drops the remote in front of Odesu. He immediately goes for it, clicks it. What happens?
He recorded the Gex.
Yeah. Oh, the sounds of Odesu fucking his own daughter.
God.
Blaring at maximum volume on the stereo.
That's fucked up.
So fucked up. You didn't think it could get any worse, and it just bitch slaps you right with that. And I love Li Wu Jin's final line to Odesu, how he's just like, what me and my sister had was love. Can you learn like to do the same, so to speak?
Damn.
Which is really messed up, but also like it's just haunting. Like ew, gross, disgusting. But yeah, it's true. Like
and then there's Li Wu Jin's final scene, which is perfect for him.
I love his final scene, how he's in the elevator, and that's when it shows him at the site of when his sister committed suicide. Like, that's a great use of taking something that technically happened before, but waiting until the end to show it. Because that's when it would make sense. It's symbolic of him finally letting go of his sister, but by having him finally let go of his sister, he's essentially let go of life altogether because there's nothing left for him. Like, even though he's incredibly rich, incredibly successful, he has a nice penthouse, he has like millions, maybe possibly billions of dollars at his expense, he just kills himself because he's gotten his revenge, he's satisfied, there's nothing left for him, so he just kills himself on the elevator. There's only so many times I can say it's brilliant, but that's just because that just goes to show how brilliant of a movie this is, you know?
Yeah. And then we get the final scene of Odesu with a hypnotist.
So he goes back to the hypnotist, who does come back, because he does go to her, and that's when the narration plays into it. It's just like, okay, the whole time we've been hearing his narration, but that's just because the hypnotist was reading the letter he had wrote because, well, he can't speak anymore because of his tongue. So that's why the narration has been happening the whole time. It's like, oh, Great. There's a reason. There was thought put into why this aspect was made in the film.
And then he tells him, and then he erases she splits the two into like one that's Odysseus and the one that knows the secret. Yeah, and in that scene where he imagines that,
And I
in the
like that.
penthouse.
Yeah, I like how she describes the monster. So the monster is the one that knows the secret. And she says with every step he takes, he ages 10 years and he'll die at 70. Which is like really rich language to describe, and like seeing him like walk away. And again, I do like how kind of vague it is, because then Mito enters the situation and she finds Odysseus and she hugs him and is just holding him, and we end with him.
That final shot.
The final shot.
God.
Laugh and you laugh with the world. Weep and you weep alone. That whole thing, because he starts to smile, kind of chuckle, but you definitely see pain in his eyes. So you're not entirely sure if he
even
remembers
the smile
or not.
starts to become pained.
Yeah, you're not entirely sure if he remembers or not, and that's when the movie like kind of fades out, because
and then it fades out to some mountains, which, well, is probably some composure to the film after that the experience the hero might have went through.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's it's hard-hitting stuff. It's so brilliant. I do like that we don't know if he knows or not. And this is not one of those ambiguous endings where I feel like I have an answer, because I don't think we're supposed to have an answer. Like, I feel like when it comes to ambiguous films or films that have ambiguous endings, like endings where you're not entirely sure what to get out of it, or things that are left up to interpretation, you tend to have interpretations for yourself. I feel like this is one of those. I don't have one, and I feel like it's because I'm not supposed to have one. I don't really know if I should have an interpretation, because I feel like what we have is what we need. We don't need any more, and we don't need an answer. I feel like the way we leave is how we should have it. Not to spoil The Sopranos. There's your warning. Yeah. I won't even go into specifics, but this does remind me of the last shot of The Sopranos, one of my all-time favorite TV shows. It does end kind of ambiguously. There's no hard-hitting answers, but I kind of prefer that. I know it was controversial in its day, but after experiencing it for myself, I feel like leaving it in the way that it did was more helpful than not. And I think this movie definitely reinforces that. This movie's ending for sure. Like, you need that ambiguous ending. We don't need an answer.
It's a perfect, ambiguous, devastating ending.
Devastating for sure. That's a very good word to use for it. Devastating for sure.
Yeah. But this is technically part of a trilogy, right? Like,
I have heard
the Vengeance trilogy.
I have heard that. What are the other two movies in that trilogy?
Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance and Lady Vengeance, or some people call it Sympathy for Lady Vengeance.
Now, is this like the Cornetto trilogy, where it's really only a trilogy because of the same actors and filmmakers involved? They're not technically a trilogy?
Yes, pretty much. They're kind of thematically connected as well. Like,
thematically connected.
Lady Vengeance has the closest to a happy ending. Mr. Vengeance is the most bleak.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Oldboy is like somewhere in the middle.
This is in the middle.
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Well, even if it's part of a technical trilogy, I think on its own, it's such a strong movie. Like, do I wish I watched it going in as blind as possible? Absolutely. Does that take away? Not really. I think us talking about it for this long, I've definitely learned to just remember what it is I appreciate about it. And so I do think, even though I knew what it was, what the twist was going in, I can still appreciate the filmmaking that went in, you know?
Yeah. To be fair, I've already watched this film 3 times, and it's just as impactful and got even better the more and more I watched it.
Oh, dude, I need to watch this again. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I to tie this a little into the podcast, we talk about DVDs, Blu-rays, and even the occasional VHS tape. So, do you own this? Actually, you have been saying you owned this on 4K, correct?
Yes, I bought the 4K on sale last month before, and I actually got the day before you gave me a date whenever it was supposed to record. Before,
Oh,
so
how about that?
coincidence? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably, but still,
Yeah.
it worked out. Oh,
Can I put a picture? Can I put a picture right
absolutely,
there?
absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll put it in the episode.
Yeah. I'm I'm gonna put a certain picture that I took and put on the server recently. So, oh wait, it's on.
There
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah. Let's just leave Sephiroth here.
Oh, so Sephiroth.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great cover though. Oh, the octopus. That's great. Yeah. Well, anyway, the point I wanted to make is I'm absolutely getting this on Blu-ray. I'm pissed I haven't gotten it sooner. But
Oh yeah, can I also talk about the 4K real quick?
absolutely, please.
It actually comes out and it's actually this book kind of, and the disc you take out the sleeves, which I don't really like sleeves, but the pattern is neat. You know what patterns I'm talking about, right?
Which
The
pattern?
patterns in the film.
Yeah.
Can I take a picture?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yeah, visuals are very important.
Okay.
Sorry to any audio listeners, but
Okay.
I mean, I guess that really only applies to Apple Podcasts, because Spotify they use video on Spotify. So
Or if it's a very busy day at work.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. This is what they look like.
Okay, yeah. That's awesome.
Oh yeah, there's also some essays in here, and one of the guys that wrote the essays caught my eye. Can I show it?
Oh, who's one of the essay writers? I gotta know.
It's the first one. I'll take a picture.
Okay, this I gotta see.
Okay. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm just gonna.
Because you seem very excited to tell me, so I can't even imagine who this is. But it's somebody important, I'm sure.
Do you remember Wreck-It Ralph?
I remember Wreck-It Ralph. Oh. When you said remember Wreck-It Ralph, I'm like, what does that mean? And then I see the name David Sims. I immediately knew. Oh, Terminall, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
All right. To add some context, there's as we know, there's a movie called Wreck-It Ralph. There's a couple of characters in the movie Wreck-It Ralph that are antagonistic towards Vanellope. You know, they're the Candy Crush drivers. You know, they all look like weird Candyland children. One of them is named Candlehead, and writer of this essay in the Oldboy 4K, David Sims, known internet movie critic, his review, you could look this review up on Letterboxd for Wreck-It Ralph. You will find it. I forget what score he gave the movie, but he basically just said Candlehead though, which is not saying a lot, but it is implying a lot. I remember finding that review and just being revolted by it. And it's one I bring up to a lot of people. And everybody I've told has ruined their day. They're just like, oh. I love I'm not looking at the review, but I can just imagine it. The comment section only has one comment. And one comment says, a literal child.
I couldn't stop laughing somehow.
Look, objectively, it's one of the funniest Letterboxd reviews I've ever come across. Not even just because of what it says, but because of the implications and the fact that an adult male wrote it. Like, oh, okay. Now I need this 4K. I was like thinking like, I'll just get like a standard Blu-ray or something, but like now I need this 4K specifically if it comes with the illustrious David Sims's essay writing.
Yeah. I also checked his Letterboxd account. He watched Oldboy, so this is probably the same David Sims, probably. Hopefully.
It has to be. It has to be.
Yeah. There's also some storyboards in the 4K, which doesn't matter compared to David Sims. It's a little expensive though, like maybe a little too expensive, but still.
Well, then I can wait. I'll be patient. But I do. You've convinced me though on this 4K.
I got it on sale $50. Oh, and it also comes with some cards like from shots from a film. Can I take a picture of one of them?
Yeah, please. I think in this section I'll just have I'll just, because I'm screen recording everything, I'll just show this like in the corner of like, all this stuff that you've brought to share.
Okay. I'll just take a picture of the first one.
Sure.
The front and back.
Yeah.
So you can get a good idea of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I did not think we were going to talk about the Candlehead though review in this episode on Oldboy, but here we are.
Yeah.
Oh, we have fun.
Yeah. We're like more than an hour into the episode, and we're only through the first movie.
Well, to be fair, there's a lot to discuss with Oldboy. So
yeah, it's that good.
It is worth the hype. Absolutely.
I am so glad I chose this movie.
I'm glad you chose it too, because then I was able to actually watch it for real, experience it for real. And so, yeah, no. And I'm glad that I'm coming to the conclusion that I want to add it to the collection because it is that special of a movie. So again, it might be a while because you're saying it's very expensive. I obviously I'm not made of money, so
yeah,
I don't have the funds for it, but eventually, someday, the 4K with illustrious film critic David Sims's essays will eventually make its way into the collection. So
okay.
Can't wait.
You know what would make this movie even better?
What?
If they made the main film in British.
That's a good point. They should absolutely do that. And you know what? Yeah. They should hire the director of Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
Which is ironic.
I mean, that's a good movie. I've never seen it yet, but still.
I mean, it is
so it's kind of good. It's right?
It is a good movie, Do the Right Thing. Which is ironic because in this situation, the filmmakers did not do the right thing. They did the wrong thing. Because they made Oldboy 2013.
Oh God!
So you did suggest it. You were just like, hey, I want to talk about both Oldboys, and I was immediately like, that makes sense. If we're gonna talk about the 2003 one, I kind of figured the 2013 one would be brought up in conversation.
Yeah. There's also a Bollywood film that maybe kind of remade or ripped off Oldboy, but I don't really care for that one. That doesn't sound as interesting as whatever the fuck this is.
Yeah, so this is definitely one of those kinds of remakes where, yes, it's an American remake of a foreign film. Yes, it's a remake of a beloved foreign film. And it's also just a remake of a beloved foreign film that does not understand what made the original work so well. Yeah. And so we're left with kind of one of the most confused movies I've seen in some time. Look, I'll be honest. I'm not angry with this movie. Not because I think it's good or I don't think it's that bad. It is a steaming pile of shit. Like, it is bad. I think because I knew to expect disappointment, I was not disappointed because I was like, well, I know it's going to be bad. Oh, hey, it is that bad. And everything it does worse than the original, which is I mean, it's pretty standard for like,
Yeah.
Disney remakes where you're just like, okay, let me see how this movie improves upon the original. And none
Oh,
of
it doesn't.
it doesn't. Yeah, none of the Disney remakes have ever improved upon their originals. Maybe Pete's Dragon, but that's different because the original Pete's Dragon kind of sucks.
Yeah.
The
I know
bit,
they're both different from each other, really different,
yeah,
but I've only
but
seen the
but my point is the majority of those movies are just worse in every way. Like I'm sure
Yeah.
people have their favorites, but I fully believe the majority of them are just worse in every way. So
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
what I consider this movie, Old Boy. Like it is just a worse version of what was already fine.
yeah. Can we start off with a poster first? Because I
Oh,
think the poster is something,
well,
to be fair.
yeah, I don't think the poster is that bad, but I don't think it's particularly great. It's
Yeah.
it's way less intriguing than than any of the posters of the original.
Yeah. I know that YMS already said this, but looks like he's doing one of those sending myself in a off in the mail challenges or something like that from years ago.
That's true. I forgot that was a trend. So when he brought it up in the video, I'm like, oh, that really dates this video, but that was a thing.
Yeah.
That's right. It was pre-COVID times, before the dark age.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we get the opening scene, which
Bad.
well
So,
yeah.
well, so I don't really have much to say on this because I feel like every scene I could just be like, well, this was done better in the original. Or if it's a wholly original scene, I can just be like, well, this is just stupid and doesn't add anything. But yeah, no. So I will say with this opening scene of showing Joe Doucette, played by Thanos, um, it's just showing him. It's very different from showing Odesu in the original. How like we eventually, because we don't get like a flash forward, we just get Joe Doucette being an asshole in his everyday life.
Yeah.
But like Odesu was not an asshole. He was a bumbling idiot. There's a difference. And okay, different interpretation, different characterization. You want this character to be a bit of an asshole, a bit of a jerk. It's like, okay, you can do that without making him the biggest piece of shit you have ever come across. Like
He doesn't even care about his daughter
it's
at all.
so heavy-handed the way he's
Yeah.
a bit of an asshole because it shows him pissing in an alleyway, pouring a drink into his soda, him not giving a shit to his secretary, him blatantly saying, "I don't care about my daughter. She's only 3 years old. She doesn't care that I won't be there." And then actively hitting on the person he's trying to do a sales pitch to. It's like this is like I can't even forgive this for being a movie. Like that's just straight up stupid. Like it's not, and it's not like because it's not fun. It's not fun to witness. You're just like, okay, he's just an asshole. Like there's nothing fun about that, you know? Like you can do likable assholes. Like one of the poster child I always point to when it comes to likable asshole characters is Cusco in Emperor's New Groove. There's a guy who starts off as an irredeemable dickhead and becomes one of the most likable characters in his own movie.
Yeah, great movie. Another episode for another time.
Exactly.
Maybe.
But that's what I'm saying. You can do this dickhead of a main character and still make them likable or make them interesting. To bring up The Sopranos again, Tony Soprano, kind of a jerk to say the least, but I'm still fascinated by him as a main character. Now, to be fair, that's a TV show where you can flesh it out more, but you can still do an interesting, horrible main character. This movie does not do that.
They also placed the best friend with some guy who runs a bar that he probably sees a lot.
His best friend, played by Michael Imperioli in The Sopranos. Hey, we brought it back to The Sopranos again.
Yeah, and then he also gets a present for his daughter while he's drunk, which is just something. And also the thing Anchorwoman is wearing are the wings. What did Odysseus get his his daughter wings. Is that a reference to the original Oldboy? Oh boy, I love Oldboy. I should be really watching this instead.
Yeah,
Help!
that was painful. That I was just like, oh, really? That's what you're gonna reference the original that way? Like, oh, it was that was a bitch slap to the face. I'm just like, that was pathetic.
Yeah.
um,
And,
yeah. So he
oh
does.
yeah, and can I
He
also
buys
mention
that
the
weird.
umbrella?
Oh, so the umbrella I wanted to point out because I
Yeah.
didn't. Well, I didn't know
No.
they were gonna do the whole scar thing again. Because this was before he tattooed the scars on his hands. Um, but seeing the scars in this movie, yeah, it caught me off guard because I was just like, well, that's just the original. Like, what does that have to like that? That was such a weird thing because it's like the umbrella being held by the essentially this movie's version of the henchman character. Like, that's why does she have these scars on the umbrella? Like that was such a weird
Yeah.
callback to the original.
It doesn't even make any sense at all.
No, no, which
Yeah.
is pretty par for the course with this film.
Yeah, and then we also get the introduction to the hotel room, which
Yeah, so
sucks.
he immediately wakes up in it. Like, we don't get the whole like 2 months later thing where it's just far more fascinating. No, he just immediately wakes up and he assumes he's in a hotel with like some bimbo he slept with. Like, even though he doesn't remember any of it, he just assumes it's like, oh, you get that blackout drunk? Wow, that what an idiot. Like, not just an asshole, what an actual idiot.
Yeah. Is he stupid? Yes, he is.
Yeah, is he stupid? Absolutely.
Yeah. And then we get the recreation of that scene, and can I say that it looks like he's growing more facial hair the more the opening goes on, even though it's just 2 days technically.
Is it 2 days? I think it.
I think so. From the beginning of the film where he's outside to whenever he gets captured and gets the dumplings, it looks like he's growing more facial hair. Well,
Right.
it's implied anyway.
Yeah, the passage of time is way less tangible than in the original. It's confusing.
Yeah.
To bring up the dumplings, where he starts immediately complaining about the dumplings, even though he specifically says anything but dumplings. Motherfucker.
Giving him more options.
My dude. Like, that is one of the weirdest changes they made, where they actively show like cereal and like a breakfast burrito or something like that. I'm like, my dude, Spike, writer of this movie, I forget his name, but writer of this movie, why? Like, that is the most basic thing from the original. It's just like, they don't respect him. They feed him dumplings every day because they don't respect him. That is one of the most basic things. They didn't get that right.
And then there's the
Why?
masturbation scene.
Oh, the masturbation scene is even though you don't see his dick, you feel dirty because you're just like, oh.
Why does he have a pillow? Does he know that we're watching him or something?
Yeah, no. It's like,
Wait,
come
does
on.
he know he's in a movie?
Ooh, meta. No, yeah, no, but you're right. It's such an obvious, like, oh, it's rated R. We can't show that in this movie. It's just like, come on, grow a pair, literally, in this situation.
Yeah, and what he's masturbating to is, well, pretty close to softcore.
Pretty softcore, like, exercise video. Absolutely, yeah. You don't feel the desperation, whereas like in the original, it's essentially just like women who just so happen to be on a TV, like. And again, that was years into him being locked away. Like, this is what, Joe Doucette in like day 5.
Yeah, and then they put him to sleep with the gas, and then they do a recreation of them gathering evidence, except that they make it even more obvious by taking his shots, putting his fingerprints on a crowbar, and labeling the bags as evidence, just so we know that's evidence. How could I tell in the original?
Yeah, no, it's leaving very little up to interpretation, which is the opposite of what an Oldboy movie should be doing. Like, an Oldboy movie, again, should be subtle. Like, it should have you, the audience, figuring it out just as the main character is. No, it's just going to spell it out for you because you're stupid. It's embarrassing.
Okay. Yeah. And there's also the scene where he finds out about his wife's death, which, I mean, it's Oldboy 2013. What else do I have to say?
It's bad. It's just bad.
Yeah. And then he tries to kill himself with a overdramatic reaction.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, don't forget about. Oh yeah, let's skip a bit. It's for that scene. The mouse scene.
The mouse scene, I was actually digging. I was like, okay, this is actually kind of an interesting scene to have in this kind of movie. It's like, he starts to befriend.
Not a bad idea.
He befriends what he can. It's not executed properly because it does happen like one scene after the other. Like, it doesn't spread it out.
But they speed run through it.
Yeah, they speed run through it, but I do like it. And then it immediately just ends with, oh, the mouse dies. It's just like, oh.
They make Ratatouille.
Yeah, they make Ratatouille, exactly. It's just like, it's that movie, this movie pulling that feels like try hard edgy as opposed to the actual dark depravity of the original. This just they're just like, oh, we're gonna kill this mouse friend. Like, we're so edgy. It's just like, no.
It's basically just Shadow the Hedgehog edgy, except it's actually rated R, but they're not trying enough.
Shadow the Hedgehog has more balls than this movie. Shadow the Hedgehog earns its edginess. I feel cooler liking Shadow the Hedgehog more than watching this movie.
Shadow the Hedgehog basically just a shit post.
Exactly.
Even if it's a 1 out of 10 game, at least I can make fun of it.
Right, exactly.
We also see him hallucinating, which is just the guy, which is supposed to just say, we hope you enjoy your stay, which does not compare to the other quote from the other poster.
Yeah, it's just for weird Spike Lee shock value, like, oh, the bellhop came to life, and then it's never brought up again.
Spooky.
Yeah.
And he sees a TV show called Mr. I'm just gonna call it Mysteries of Murders, even though that's a Bong Joon-ho film. I'm just gonna call it that.
Memories of Summer or whatever. Yeah.
Memories. I'm just gonna call it Memories of Murders because that's funny. I don't care.
Which, again, the host of that show is played by Max Casella, another Sopranos actor. So, again, pointing out all these Sopranos actors was filling me with some serotonin while watching this awful film.
I wonder why it's a 2 out of 10 for you.
Because of the mouse scene, because of the pointing out the Sopranos actors, and the acting is not terrible from it's terrible from like the villain, but like I don't think Josh Brolin does a terrible job. I don't know. It's not the worst. That's why it's a 2 out of 10. Like, for me.
Yeah. And then he gets inspired since he sees his daughter and he starts loving his daughter again, and then he starts training and starts escaping.
Yeah.
And whenever he is released, it turns out that he was actually about to escape but got distracted by the TV. Why did he just stay there watching it even though the gas was about to come in?
Plot.
Yeah.
It's essentially just because the script says so, which is so stupid.
Yeah, and then this cuts to the suitcase, which way
less of an impactful reveal of him popping out of the suitcase. Like, I get it, it's I could just be like, I sound like a nitpicky asshole, but like, it's way better in the original.
Yeah, and then he chases a woman with a same umbrella.
Yeah, so he chases.
I guess they sell these umbrellas regularly.
Well, he chases the woman, the henchman woman, and he just so happens to come across those football players, which the guy immediately punches him, which was really weird because he doesn't know what's happening. Like, Josh Brolin like runs over to her, and all she says is like, "Get the fuck away from me," and then the guy just immediately punches Josh Brolin. It's just like, in that situation, he would just like kind of push him away from the woman, like at the most. But he just straight up assaults Josh Brolin without without actually knowing the situation. He just had to punch him, so then Josh Brolin has a reason to beat the shit out of those guys.
Oh, can I also say that he seems unaffected by the 20 years he spent in prison? Oh yeah, it's 20 years this time.
Oh yeah, it's 20 years this time. It's...
In the manga, 10 years. Original film, 15 years. Remake, 20 years.
Yeah, the next remake is going to be 40 years.
I'm pretty sure I heard that Park Chan-wook is making another American remake TV show. I think, I don't know. Yeah. Now, anyways, is he then chases, but it's another guy with the umbrella. Then he meets Elizabeth Olsen's character, which you can probably guess who that is.
Well, so yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
let's pretend, because we won't get there. We'll save it for the reveal, quote unquote.
Let's pretend we never talked about Oldboy 2003, Oldboy
Exactly.
2023. The original Oldboy. What's that? This is the original Oldboy.
Exactly. So anyway, Elizabeth Olsen shows up, and yeah, she for no reason gives him her card. She's just naturally drawn to him. We should say there's no hypnotism in this movie, which you'd think I would be okay with, because like I said, hypnotism is kind of a cheap trick. But again, the original treated the hypnotism with, like, actually treated it pretty well, whereas here you need the hypnotism because now everything that happens in the movie makes zero sense.
Yeah,
like, why does she care about Joe Doucette?
Is she stupid? Yeah, everybody's stupid in this film.
The only reason she gives him the card is because the script says so. The only reason she, quote unquote, cares for him is because the script says so.
Yeah, and then he goes to the bar owner, who still somehow knows him.
Yeah, dude. I mean, he admittedly, Michael Imperioli's just like, oh, I didn't recognize you at first, but then immediately he's just like, yeah, come on in, whatever. It's like, okay, no tension.
Yeah. And then that's how Elizabeth Olsen comes back, and she has the card. Why doesn't he just call 911 first? What's the difference?
Again, that is one of the most. That is the epitome of, like, it has to happen because script, because story, because plot.
Yeah.
He even calls 911 immediately, but then he sees the card and he hangs up. It's like, no, no rational person does that. That is the dumbest thing. Now, yeah, it does lead to Elizabeth Olsen coming, no questions asked, and, like, actually caring for him. But, like, again, really, that was the most, that is what you came up with in that scenario. It's embarrassing.
Yeah. And then Elizabeth Olsen reads through all of Joe Doucette's notes.
Yeah.
It's and then they team up. They look for the dumplings, even though it does not really make sense in this context. And then we see the squid. Remember the original? Okay, no.
That was embarrassing. How they held him looking at the squid in the aquarium for so long. I'm just like, oh god, it's like a Marvel movie. Like that. Stop. You're Oldboy. Like, that is, it was so forced. So forced.
I have a question.
Hmm?
Do you think if this movie came out today, they probably would have asked Chris Pratt as the main character?
Oh, I'm trying to think, because I mean, I know the joke you're going for, but, like, I think objectively, no, I don't think he would do this movie.
No. It would be funny, though.
It would be funny. You know what? I would love to see Chris Pratt in this role, just for the lulz.
Yeah.
He wouldn't do it.
At least we got Thanos, so.
Yeah, at least we got Thanos. That's what, again, I commend Josh Brolin. He's not terrible. He's not good. He's been way better in other things. It's just, I think for what he was given, he doesn't do that terrible of a job.
Yeah, he's not the worst, even if some of it seems a bit forced.
Yeah, no.
We'll get to that.
The worst is easily the main villain, Sharlto Copley. Or Sharlto Copley. I don't know how to say it.
Hello, Joseph.
Oh, dude.
God.
But yeah, so the dumplings, that leads to him eventually finding the restaurant. And so Yeah, and it's the most obvious fucking restaurant because then you see like them piling up the bags at the front, and then a guy with a cigar walks in, and the guy behind the counter says out loud, "The usual, sir," to spell it out for us dumbass Americans.
Oh, I'm supposed to know in the original.
Oh yeah,
Now I know.
Now I know exactly. This movie gets me.
And then he chases them with a bike.
Oh,
And then he steals a hammer.
he steals the hammer for no reason. He just steals the hammer because the original movie had him use a hammer. Yeah, he gets something stupidly. It is the stupidest looking bike. Like they couldn't have made it more stupid. The only way it could have looked any more stupid is if they painted it pink and they put like a tricycle. They put like training wheels on it. They put like the frills on it. They put like a fucking bell and he like rings the bell. It's so pathetic. And I feel like and just seeing him in like his all black clothing and he's never smiling while on the bike just kind of it just reinforces how pathetic and goofy it looks, he's trying to look cool while riding a bicycle chasing down the guys. It's so pathetic, but it's so funny.
Yeah. And then he infiltrates it's a thing which he kills the guys in the most generic, which with no personality or substance at all.
That was just really embarrassing. How he like
some boy kills.
He takes the hammer and like smashes the guy with the cigar guy in the face. The blood looked so like CGI-ish in that moment. Yeah, like it was something. It was straight out of like Prey, where like the blood, like it feels like it was filmed. Like it claims to be a rated R film because it has blood, but it feels like it was like filmed as a PG-13, and they just got the okay to have a rated R rating later. So they're like, oh, we'll just put in blood and that'll make it R.
And now people are saying that Prey is good. Oh, wait. Okay, I still haven't seen Prey yet, but still.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, no, and then he kills Rami Malek, which was really funny seeing Rami Malek for just 10 seconds.
Those score kills I like for film saying, this isn't your grandpa's old boy. This is edgy.
This is edgy. Yeah.
This is a real hardcore man.
Yeah, this is for hardcore men who like,
even though it's less disturbing than the original.
Yeah, this is for men who like seeing Josh Brolin cut up Samuel Jackson's neck for no reason. Like,
I mean, that would probably hurt, but that's stupid.
It hurts, but there's no significance to it. Like,
yeah, it doesn't even make me cringe like in the original. Like,
oh, I'm cringing, just not how the movie wants me to cringe.
Yeah. Yeah. And he also puts him in a position where he can show him where the tape, tell him where the tape is, even though he decides not to for some dumb reason.
Yeah, that's so stupid. And then
you know what would have been really funny? If later they show Samuel L. Jackson's character, but instead of showing a bandage around his neck, they put little gold things in his neck.
That would have been unique and cool, and just you wouldn't have expected it, but like it's a striking image, which is why they wouldn't have done that, because that's interesting. This movie's not interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that then leads to this movie's version of the hallway scene. Well, surprise, surprise, it sucks.
It's choreographed as hell and bad.
So this is what I mean. Like, this is the kind of cliche where like, oh, every hired goon fights him one at a time, and it's obvious. This is what the original was trying to combat against, and this movie goes straight for the cliches. It's night and day comparing the two. It's totally night and day.
It's not the worst fight scene ever made, but
I've seen worse,
not
for sure.
all that good.
Yeah, no, it's nothing special. It's generic. You've seen it before in other films.
And then that guy with a knife just does some kind of special move saying some random thing and just stabs him at the end, even though he came out completely unscathed except for that one guy. I love how he just comes in saying some random bullshit and then just stabs it like some special move or something like that.
The way the knife in the back in this movie is filmed feels like it was trying to be a reference to the original, where it's just like, well, the original had him have a knife in his back, which is bizarre. It's like, no, why? Like, this is not a movie where you can like reference the original to be all cute and such and be like, oh, we're referencing the original. Remember this? It's like, it's a stab to the back. Like, why are you referencing that? And even if it's not a reference, it's filmed like it was trying to reference it, which is bizarre.
And then we get it, but got more guys coming out, and this hard cuts to that door opening, which does not which pales in comparison to the original.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was funny, but not because the movie thinks it's funny, because I'm laughing at the movie.
Yeah, and then we get to introduction to the villain, the British guy.
Way worse. Yeah, how he's
British
like,
Li Wu Jin.
Yeah, instead of Li Wu Jin, where he's hidden in. He's kind of hidden from him. You're not really expecting him to be the villain. You think he's just a nice random stranger, and then he pops his head in, and then all of a sudden there's significance to him being the guy that helped him into the car. Here, this American is struggling to walk, and so a British man who just so happens to find him also has the same exact voice as the British man on the phone in the earlier scene, comes up to him, is like, oh dear, let me help you, sir. It's like, come on. Like, I get it.
And he also makes it even more obvious by saying that this is only the beginning, or something like that.
This is only the beginning, old chap. It's like,
then just cuts the credits to be continuing the Oldboy Part 2.
Oh god, it's like, I get it. Like, it's an American movie, and British accents are very dignified, and they sound very threatening when they're coming out of villains. But I don't. This just feels forced as to why the main villain is British. There's no reason for it. He's just British because a lot of villains in movies have British accents. It's like, it's so corny.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And again, like I said, it's not made better because the actor sucks, but we can get a little bit more into him later on when he becomes more prominent.
Yeah. He then gets sent back to the place where bar.
He gets sent back to the bar, and that's when he gets fixed up by Elizabeth Olsen. Is it then the next scene where he's in the bar and that's when the villain makes himself like appear because he just so happens to be in the bar?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Along with everybody else, which are also his goons for some reason.
Yeah. So let's make sense of this. The villain and his Asian assistant lady, the henchman, sit down. A bunch of other people walk in at some point. All of them are hired goons of the villain. The villain calls Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin doesn't answer. So then Josh Brolin has an idea to call him back, causing the villain's phone to then ring, and then causing Josh Brolin to turn around and see him. It's so convoluted and confusing that, like, unlike in it feels like it's trying to pull what the original was doing, where like every scene you're unraveling what is happening. You're unraveling the villain's plan. Here, it's so convoluted that this is stupid. You're just like baffled by the decision making. Like, why didn't the villain just admit it? Like, why didn't I get it. He's trying to toy with him, but he's toying with him in the most pathetic way possible. Like, you're not threatened.
Yeah. And what scene comes next?
So again, this is the scene where the villain reveals himself. He's like, "Oh, Joe, I'm gonna give you. I'll admit that I was the one who put you away. I'll kill myself, or like I'll arrest myself to the police. I'll give myself up to the law, and I'll give you like $20 million worth of diamonds, if
And
you can,
evidence that he didn't kill his wife.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, and just basically saying, if you can figure out who I am and why I locked you away for 20 years. Um, and then that's when he's just like, and you better go save your friend. His henchman holds up the iPad, and it's it's really good quality for 2013. It's like, oh, so stupid.
He then goes to Elizabeth Olsen's house, which we also kind of get a recreation of the original,
Yeah.
kind of,
Again, we
sort of.
get Samuel Jackson with a neck brace, like a neck bandage,
Yeah.
and then just being
Samuel
like,
L. Jackson is too good for this.
yeah, Samuel Jackson is too good for this. But
Yeah.
like, but then he like, so then he walks in, and then they're about to like do the same thing to him. They're about to cut him up into pieces, and then Samuel Jackson answers the phone, and it's the villain. And again, it's the same thing as the original, where the villain pays off these people to be like, oh, don't get to kill him, like he's mine. But again, they do it incorrectly, because in this movie, Samuel Jackson repeats everything the villain says on the phone like we're 5 fucking years old. It's embarrassing.
Goo Goo Gaga. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
Oh, made for
Okay.
American audiences.
Yeah. Hey, this is just like that American Godzilla film from 50, so they added an American actor in.
Yeah.
Except that was actually funny that they actually did that instead of dubbing the film.
Hey, that gave us live Raymond Burr reaction. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's hilarious how instead of just dubbing the film, they went out of their way to add a brand new character.
Yeah. We love Raymond Burr.
They should have done that for the other films as well.
Ooh, Raymond Burr in Oldboy.
Yeah. No, back to dog shit movie.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and then they leave the house, and Elizabeth Olsen joins Joe in his quest.
His quest to find out what happened. Well, here's the confusing thing, okay? Because so first off, the villain calls him for no reason and doesn't answer. It's just an excuse, so then we can get him to be like, oh, it keeps ringing the same song, because that's how a ringtone works. I know YMS went into this, but I want to ask, because so they Shazammed the song, and it turns out to be the theme song of the school that Joe used to go to. How does Joe not recognize the song? Because here's the thing. In the original, the reason the reason that Odesu doesn't really remember the school is because, well, it actively shows him transferring from that school. So like, he obviously didn't really have much of an impact on that school. Whereas in this movie, we soon find out that Joe was quite popular at his school.
Yeah.
And
They
yet
also
he
shown
doesn't.
the original that song would play every time they use the gas to put him to sleep. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So like, but like, that song has significance. Whereas here, that song should also have significance to Joe, because he went to that school. And also, they Shazammed the ringtone sound, even though the ringtone sound should already say what the song is. They didn't need Shazam. All they had to do was just look at the phone.
Shazam, Black Adam, boom, Black Adam reference. Just had to. Why not?
Why not? It's all kinds of wrong, is what I'm saying. Yeah. It's so stupid.
Dwayne Johnson, as Joju said.
Ooh, I'd love that.
Oh my god. Okay, now back to the movie then.
Yeah.
He then breaks into the school since it's closed. Oh yeah, they also visit that teacher.
Yeah, just to get like the name, even though realistically, if they're going to the school, wouldn't there be yearbooks there anyway? Like,
yeah,
they didn't need to go to the headmistress's. They didn't need to go to her school. Well, first of all, so yeah, the school is abandoned. They could have just walked into the school, found a yearbook, and that's how they find out the villain's name, which is Adrian. But they go to the headmistress's house, and Elizabeth Olsen asks questions, but Joe doesn't, because okay, so he is on the run, but like, so that's why he does it. That's why he sneaks in. But again, they didn't need to go to the headmistress. Just cut out the middleman. Just go straight to the school. Like, you didn't. It's oh god, oh it hurts. Oh it hurts. It hurts trying to make sense of this movie.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying. Like, you could have just gone straight to the school. But yeah, that scene is just in there so then he can find a yearbook, because I guess he didn't have a yearbook, whatever, to find out the villain's name. In which case, then they go to the school. Which, by the way, the school is abandoned, but still has security guards.
But why?
And also, every like bit of paperwork is still filed away at the school, even though it's abandoned. I guess you wouldn't really need it for anything else, but like, why not just destroy it all because it's abandoned? Isn't like vital information in there? Like, couldn't anybody walk in, like, discover some things? It makes no sense. The longer I'm trying to make sense of it, the more brain cells I'm losing.
And then there's a scene where Joe Doucette retraces his steps,
and it's embarrassing. Yeah. So not only is he a part of his dream, where he just so happens to walk through. So I guess this is more like the Muppet Christmas Carol, where Scrooge sees his older self,
except bad.
But yeah, no, it's way worse. But also Elizabeth Olsen is there. Why? Like, I get it. She's there at the school with him, but why is she in the flashback?
Yeah.
What is the significance?
Oh yeah, what Joe Doucette finds out, you remember the incest in the original?
We're gonna double it down.
Yeah, we're gonna double down on it and make it even worse.
Yeah, so in the original, it was a little like, it was more, I don't want to necessarily say subtle, but it was not as heavy-handed. You just had Li Wu Jin kind of tenderly like opening up the shirt, kind of caressing. It's much more implied than actually getting physical. And this one, they're just straight porking in the middle of a fucking greenhouse.
And this time, it's the father. Yeah. Oh boy,
it's the
Cosmodor. It's Cosmodor. You get the joke, right?
Now that's a name I have not heard in a long time.
Yeah, we should never speak of him again, though.
I agree. Yeah. Moving on. But anyway, yeah, but not only that, it's like the whole family. I mean, not in that scene. You just see the father and the daughter. And yeah, Joe sees it, rightfully tells everybody, and then it leads to such a funny scene where I'm sorry. I love the scene where like he's just like I forget how it happened, but like we get a flashback to when the sister is found out, and all the teenagers are surrounding her in the hallway, just going whore, Amanda's a whore. And they're just cheering. It's hilarious. Have you ever seen that? I think it's like an anti-bullying commercial from like the 90s, where a bunch of people are like running up to a camera just being like, hey, what's up, gay boy? What's up, gay boy? What's up? Like, they're just like being like, gay, gay, gay. And one guy yells the F slur really loudly. I don't want to recreate it because I don't want to be canceled on twitter.com, but just look it up. It is one of the funniest fucking things in the world. And that's what it reminded me of.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh god. But yeah, it's so corny and so goofy, which again, because the movie's trying to be taken seriously, makes it a million times funnier.
Yeah. Oh, this girl wears ladies' underwear. That's embarrassing.
Oh. Yeah, not even close to being as impactful as the original. Oh, she wears girls' underwear. It's like, yeah, Isn't that a novel idea? A girl wearing panties.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, and then the bartender finds out more about the girl, and she says, "I found out more about the whore."
Yeah.
And then the villain, well,
That's when the
found,
villain in this movie snaps. And again,
yeah, he just drives over there and says it, and he's like, "You called a whore." Then just hooks him in like,
chokes him, and yeah, Michael Imperioli's making the funniest fucking face, and he's just like, "You called her a whore, a whore, a whore."
yeah. Yeah, and it's a point that he killed him, and then he sends him his tongue.
Yeah. Oh, they cut out the tongue of Michael. They cut out Michael Imperioli's tongue instead. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, they should have. They didn't, instead of cutting off Samuel L. Jackson's hand, they cut off a bartender's tongue. Oh, we're so edgy.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Yeah. Remember the original Oldboy where Odysseus cut off his tongue?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. I think we skipped over the sex scene between Elizabeth Olsen and Josh Brolin, but
I'm pretty sure that's afterwards.
but
maybe I don't know.
Can you blame us? Because it really comes out of nowhere. Unlike the original,
They have no chemistry at all.
They have
like,
no chemistry.
Are they stupid? Yeah, I can't even hide it anymore. They are stupid.
Yeah, and again, there's no hypnotism, so the fact that they do it is nobody's fault but their own. They're just really dumb.
Yeah.
Again, they just did it because the original had incest.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, then it leads
calm compared to the original.
Yeah. Do we please get into the climax, because it is such a night and day difference between what the original does. The original, as we said, is haunting, is brilliant. It's every positive adjective I can give.
Well, for the climax, he goes to the penthouse and finds out and bites the henchman at first, which only lasts a few seconds. He just slits her throat, and that's it.
And then she's dead.
And then you're able to help me out on this, right?
Yeah. So
okay.
So I think we should talk about the villain, that being Adrian, played by Charlton Copley, who, no offense to the guy, but I've never liked him in anything I've seen him in. So he was the villain in Maleficent, which you've seen Maleficent.
Yeah. I've seen him multiple times.
Oh, dude. I'm so sorry.
I was a kid back then, so can you blame me?
No, I get it, but at the same time, woof, I'm sorry.
Note to self, don't watch films multiple times. They'll lose their impact.
But he was also, the way he got his start, what movie put him on the map was District 9. I don't even like District 9 because I think it's highly overrated, but that's an episode for a different time. Basically, I don't like the guy. Again, no offense to the guy. I'm sure he's nice or whatever, but he gets put in the worst movies, and he does the worst job in all of those movies that he's put in. And this is no exception. He sucks in this movie. He has zero of the charisma of Lee Woo-jin. He's just this pompous British villain. He has no screen presence whatsoever. He just sucks. He absolutely sucks. And he gets some funny lines, but by far the funniest line isn't even from him specifically. It's from the younger actor who plays him in a flashback. So
oh God.
Let's get to that. So yeah, we get the flashback where we get the reveal of, the reason. So because you saw my sister and my father in the greenhouse that night, we had to move to Luxembourg. But that wasn't enough. Everything was coming crashing down on the father. And so the father, it flashes back again. Charlton Copley and Josh Brolin are in the flashback when it's happening, which makes zero sense. But the father walks around the house. And again, it is a one shot, which is kind of cool, but it's filmed lamely, so you don't feel the coolness. It just feels awkward because he walks into the daughter's room, shoots her as she's unbuttoning her blouse, of course. if you didn't get it, this family is depraved. Like they have sex. It's like, oh, isn't this just like society?
We live in a society. Speaking of that, Joker too. Okay, no.
I'm talking about
for probably October.
I'm talking about the Brian Usna film Society from the 80s.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, no.
Selfish of Joker though.
It does. But yeah. Anyway, Society kind of sucks though. Again, episode for a different time. Faust is better. Anyway, so the father shoots the daughter, then he like walks away, shoots the mother, walks down the stairs, comes up to the son, and what does the son do?
Father. he starts taking his belt off for some reason.
Starts unbuckling his belt because again, family incest. Father.
And then it implies that he did not even hear the gunshots for some reason.
Yeah.
And gunshots are loud.
Gunshots are very
extremely loud. How did he sleep through that?
Plot.
Yeah, and why does he wake up at the sight of his of his father coming in?
Yeah, it's a good thing his father just so happened, even though he shot his daughter and his wife dead on balls accurate by shooting them both in the chest, for some reason he just shoots his son in the shoulder, then shoots himself in the head, and then good thing the son lives.
Yeah.
Again, plot, but again, it gave us father.
My father shot me.
My father was an incestuous motherfucker. Quite literally. So anyway, yeah, this villain blames Josh for his father's incompetence. It's like, again, there's no interpretation. It's just this villain is just an idiot, straight up. Like, at least with Lee Woo Jin in the original, you can't really blame Odesu, but you at least understand why Lee Woo Jin like blames him. Here, the villain's just a massive idiot, straight up. Yeah. Like there's no getting around that. He just is stupid.
Yeah. Why would he imprison him? It makes sense. It makes complete sense why.
Yeah.
Why he would tell everybody like
that is something you would report. Absolutely. Yeah. Like that's a professor at a fucking private school.
Yeah.
That is something. Yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't just like teenagers being stupid. This is straight up a crime.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So it's not interesting in the slightest. It is pathetic.
And then he shows them that he created the Memories of Murder TV show. I'm still calling it that.
Yeah, no, that is embarrassing. That's also an embarrassing fucking it's so stupid. Yeah, he creates a TV show, and just so happens that Joe Doucette happens to watch that program at the right time. And oh god, yeah, and then just so then he can trick Joe into thinking, oh, that's your daughter, rather than thinking that Elizabeth Olsen is his daughter. Oh, spoilers, Elizabeth Olsen is his daughter. If you saw the original Oldboy, that would not be a spoiler. You'd expect to see that.
And unlike in the original, he just screams.
Yeah, he just screams.
Aww.
It's a funny face that Josh Brolin makes. Yeah. And then he's just like, oh, please, no, please don't tell her. It's just like, you dude, come on. I know Josh Brolin can act better. Like, I've seen him act real well in other movies.
Yeah, he's great in Baby Boy. He is great. Actually, that's the only thing I remember seeing him in.
No, but he's great in the recent Dunes.
Yeah.
He's even much better in the Goonies when he was young. Like, he was
he was in Dune? I forgot about that.
Yeah, he was Gurney in the new Dune movies.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I don't remember the actor that played Drax.
Yeah, because
So can you really blame me?
I mean, look,
It-
Dune has some great performances.
yeah.
I wouldn't say
Yeah.
Josh Brolin is at the top, but that's
Yeah.
not to discredit him. He's a great actor. It's
Yeah.
just that Dune has so many good performances. There's
Yeah.
so many to pick and choose from.
Yeah.
Unlike this
Dune
movie.
Part 2 in particularly is so good.
Oh, dude, Austin Butler. Oh, I'm getting distracted by a good
Yeah.
movie. We're talking about a
We
bad
already
movie.
talked about that last month. Or was
Yeah,
it 2 months ago?
it's been so long. Either way,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, no, the reveal of the incest is just way less impactful in this movie. It's so pathetic. I've said that a lot while describing this movie, but that's because it's pretty much the best way to explain like what this movie does and how it falters in everything it does. It's just pathetic.
Yeah. It just sucks in every way compared to the original.
But
Oh yeah, do you remember? Oh wait, can I early in the film? Do you remember the phone scrolling by itself? I want to mention that. I just
yeah, no, that was weird. That was just like the tip of the iceberg of see, you know how I said with the original, it felt as though the filmmakers understood how the internet works, whereas here you actively have the characters explaining the internet to Joe, just being like, "Oh, you type in something and something pops up," and he's like, "Whoa, what a great invention!" And then yeah, the fucking phone just scrolling on itself. It that is what I'm talking about, where I'm like, oh, in the 2003 one it didn't feel like that, whereas here it just feels like old people don't understand how the internet works.
and then the ending. Oh
So
my god, it's so stupid. It's
I still don't understand what even happens at the ending of this movie. So at least with the original, it's left vague and ambiguous, but you understand what's happening at the bare minimum. You understand. Whereas here, I don't know what's happening. So he sends part of the diamonds to well, actually, so Charlton Copley. I still don't know how to say his stupid fucking name. Sorry. Dumbass British villain shoots himself. It's way less impactful than when Lee Woo-jin shoots himself. It's pathetic. Again, bringing up the word pathetic because it's fucking pathetic movie. I hate this movie. So
yeah.
then Joe sends diamonds to Elizabeth Olsen, but then he gives diamonds to Samuel Jackson because Joe decides to check himself into the hotel again. Why?
Like he has all that money. He could basically just relocate somewhere else and start a new life.
Yeah. There's no reason to go back to the hotel.
Yeah.
Literally none.
Yeah.
Like
He even has a Wilson pillow.
yeah, God, that's stupid. But yeah, I understand he doesn't want to interact with Elizabeth Olsen. I agree. I don't think he should. Like, I think that's that's an obvious thing. Don't go back to your daughter. Fine. But why go to the hotel again? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. And then it ends with him like giving a slight smile where it's basically the movie being all hoity-toity, being like, "Oh yeah, we're so smart. We know what we're doing. We're I don't even know. There's just a smugness to his face that I feel like it's trying to act all high and mighty and being all like, "Oh, we're so smart. You just don't get it." It's like, "Yeah, I don't get it because you make no fucking sense. What are you doing in this
Oh
in this
yeah,
ending?"
I'm so happy that I'm going to spend the rest of my life here
What a
with my pillow.
what a great guy. Like, what am I supposed to get from this movie? I can't even be mad at it because I don't understand what it's going for. It makes zero sense. It feels like the movie the movie feels like it's trying to do like an ambiguous ending, but written by somebody who hates ambiguous endings and doesn't understand why ambiguity in endings happens. Like, you know those types of people that get angry whenever something's not explained, and then they take it out by being like, "Oh, I'm gonna write a movie where nothing makes sense, and everyone's gonna see it as like a masterpiece," but then they won't because there was no artistic and integrity that was put into it, so it just comes across as embarrassing. That's what this feels like.
Yeah. I remember the review I wrote for this movie on Letterboxd, right?
Something about like how you found a dead bird.
Yeah, while I was walking down the street, out of the cafe after doing some homework, walking back to the car, I found a dead bird. This movie is a dead bird, technically.
I agree. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah,
Dead on arrival.
yeah. I love how since the movie sucks so bad, I did not really care about making a real review, even a joke review. I just decided to just put that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I agree. So I probably sounded a lot angrier, even though I said like, oh, I'm not even that angry. I did sound angry while revisit because I was revisiting this movie in my mind as we were going through it. I'm like, oh yeah, that was stupid, wasn't it?
Okay.
So,
I have a question.
hmm?
Do you think Mr. Beast exists in the Oldboy universe? Both movies?
Ooh, I would love if Mr. Beast existed in both these movies universes.
Uh, uh, I I imprisoned 100 people in a room in rooms for 15 years, and this is what happened.
Yeah, find out what happens, and he's soy facing in the thumbnail.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah,
great. I would love
yeah,
that. Then I'd finally, if he made a video like that, then I'd finally subscribe to him.
yeah, yeah. Instead, whenever you finally find security cancer, or Twitter users will probably find something to complain about.
Yeah, you idiot! What are you doing?
Twitter users are so stupid.
Go back to voicing Panda Pig in Kung Fu Panda 4.
Yeah. Like what he's doing is pretty good, but Twitter users are just dumb.
Well, that we can all agree
Yeah.
on.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you like to own this movie physically?
Oh, dude, I'm glad you asked. No. So here's the thing. Sometimes I love in my couple of years of doing this show, in my many episodes, sometimes a bad movie comes along that I'm so fascinated by its badness that I want to study it. That's why I kept The Flash. That's why I bought The Flash on Blu-ray, because I'm fascinated by how bad that film is. But then there's movies like,
House.
Faust, great example. That's a great example of a movie that is so incompetent and so terrible, but I love it so much. We love Faust on this show. This is a big we are the number one Faust podcast. Okay, we love Faust,
Yeah.
but
This is not an episode of Oldboy. This is an episode on Faust and its remake.
exactly.
What were we talking about again?
Oh, you can never remake Faust. You cannot make Faust in the modern
Yeah.
day. Like
Yeah, you can't.
Faust was made at a time where it could still be made. It was made in the perfect era of 2000. It could not have come out any earlier. It could not have come out any later. It came out at the perfect time. That is
Oh,
the
wait a minute.
one.
I'm pretty sure I heard something about Sony remaking as remaking the comics as an animated format. I'm pretty sure.
I mean,
I don't know.
that would be cool
I
to
think I was
see.
discussing it, talking about it with Ketchup
Yeah.
months ago.
That would be cool to see, but I know in my heart of hearts it will not live up to my idea.
The scene.
It will not live up to the scene. Yes, I agree.
We all know what scene.
We all
I still haven't seen the movie yet.
but
I haven't seen the scene yet, but
yeah.
if you know, you know.
Oh, dude, you need to be converted to the Faust. You need to see it. See,
Yeah.
that is a movie that fails, much like this movie. But
The only people I know that actually gave a movie high ratings is like you, Mordo, Alexia, and Danis. That's kind of it, really, from what I remember.
Yeah, we are a very small breed of people.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe I'll be converted into the cult.
Yeah.
I mean, I found some enjoyment in Chicken Little,
But yeah.
of all things, and give it 5 stars in 8 Crazy Nights.
But that's my
Yeah.
point, is like sometimes a bad movie comes along that is so fascinating that you have to study it. You have to keep it. Like Faust is a very special movie in that sense. This movie's not. This fails for completely different reasons, because at least with Faust, the failure comes from at least the filmmakers tried and it was like its own thing. Whereas, like, yes, it's based off of source material, but it's so far removed from that source material that it's completely its own thing. This is trying to be that original film. Not only actually that, it's trying to be better than the original film, which is so
Dumb.
so dumb because the original is so perfect in everything it does. Even though I can't say I'm as passionate for the original as maybe you are or other people are, I understand what that movie does, and it does so flawlessly, and I can agree to that. This one, there's nothing. There's just straight up nothing. So no.
Yeah.
Anyway, long-winded answer. No, I will not be adding this to the collection.
You know what's
I never want to
interesting
see
about
this
the
movie
original
again.
film?
Hmm?
Do you want to know? Is that I forgot to tell you this as well. I was talking about my 4K. A year before I got my 4K, I actually burned Oldboy in another film called Ritual by Hideki Anno onto DVDs.
Mhm.
I never watched them on there, but
Yeah.
it was neat that I would bring it up since I couldn't find them anywhere.
No, but like the fact that you were so passionate for this film that you wanted to own it physically somehow, even if you had to burn it to a DVD, that just shows you the dedication you have to wanting to own that movie, the respect you have for the movie. Like,
respect I have with both movies. They're both some of my favorite films.
Yeah, exactly. What respect do we have for this movie? 0.
Yeah. So, no respect whatsoever.
No, I tell you, no respect at all.
Yeah. Do you know that Spike Lee is actually going to remake the Akira Kurosawa film High and Low next?
Really?
Yeah.
Spike, no, dude. Yeah.
Do you really want us to come back to this?
Look, I'm not the biggest fan of Spike Lee. No, I don't hate the guy. I've never been passionate for Spike Lee. Like, I like Do the Right Thing. I can't say I love Do the Right Thing. I liked The Five Bloods, although I feel like thinking about it, maybe I don't like it anymore, because I feel like if I rewatched it, I'd probably hate it a lot more. I really loved Malcolm X, like his movie on Malcolm X. Like, that was really great. I do want to watch more Spike Lee films.
Yeah.
But the dude is a bit nuts, admittedly.
This is the only Spike Lee film I've seen so far, unfortunately.
Yeah. I recommend Malcolm X. That I would recommend.
I want to watch it eventually.
That's very good.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about this film?
Mm-hmm.
Is that this is probably one of the only Spike Lee film that only says a Spike Lee film instead of a Spike Lee joint.
That's a good point.
That explains it all.
Dude, I love that. Well, I love that people have pointed that out because, I mean, it's a shame. It's not a good thing, but I think it is pretty telling that, it's called a Spike Lee film instead of his usual a Spike Lee joint.
It's like even he hates it.
Wow. You can definitely tell in the interviews that he definitely did not want to make it, or he cared very little for it. Yeah. And it's like, okay, I guess that doesn't mean it's entirely his fault, but at the same time, that's not an excuse, you know? Like, that doesn't excuse the film for being horrible, even if he doesn't care. If anything, that makes it kind of worse. It's like, okay, you didn't have any passion for this film. Why'd you make it then? You know?
Money.
I get it, money, but
Oh yeah, remember when this movie was supposed to be directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Will Smith?
Well, see, here's the thing. I'll give the movie this. I would prefer it to at least be Spike Lee. If it was Spielberg, it would be a million times worse. Spielberg cannot do the depraved, cannot do justice to depravity.
Yeah.
Spike Lee can. He obviously showed none of that skill in this movie, but he can. I know he can. From what little I've seen, I still believe he can. Spielberg? No.
Imagine if a Spielberg film actually imagine if they actually made a Spielberg film and Chip Phillips watched it.
Now that would have been funny.
I wonder where we've gone in the Spielberg ranking.
Oh, this would have obvious. Oh, if it was Spielberg, I can just see it being always in Ready Player One tier.
Yeah. But who knows? Maybe he'll make a Spike Lee ranking eventually.
I can't imagine. I can imagine. I have no idea. Before anybody asks, I have no idea what James's next video, like, director ranking is going to be. I barely even know what his next video is going to be. I'm just an editor.
Way bull ranking.
Well, maybe.
Yeah. But hey,
don't talk about that.
We're now leaving out of Oldboy and the High and Low remake also stars Denzel Washington. What did Denzel Washington also star in? Training Day.
Finally, we've made it to a DVD. Like I've always said,
After 2 hours.
Yeah, 2.5 hours later, we finally get to the DVD of the
This honestly
episode.
went better than I expected so far, to be honest.
I mean, I wasn't
Yeah.
expecting us to go for 2.5 hours, but then again,
Yeah.
I probably should have, because the last few episodes have been nothing but 2.5 to 3 hours long. So I should just
Yeah.
expect that when people come on, we're just going to be doing 4-hour episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a big delay between in episodes. I wonder what was one of the reasons for that. Now, anyway.
Anyway, Training Day. No, but I'm glad. So I wanted to talk about Training Day. I think because I just chose randomly out of my collection. I was just like, oh, we're going to be talking about both Oldboys. I don't know, Training Day. Like it was just kind of like on the whim. It's a DVD of a movie I had never seen before. That's why I wanted to go through these DVDs of movies I've never seen before. So I'm glad this was an opportunity for me to finally watch it.
Yeah, me too. I probably would have never got into it if it wasn't for this episode.
Yeah, so I'm glad I was able to finally get to it, and I'm glad I was able to introduce you to it. So, Training Day. Yeah, so it's one of those like big like Denzel movies. Like I feel like Denzel is one of those actors I'm aware of, and I've definitely seen movies with him in it. But I still haven't seen every movie he's in, I would say, and I haven't really dipped my toe into a lot of his filmography. So I'm glad I was able to watch this to get like a sense of what people consider some of the best of Denzel. And oh mama, like wow,
it's great.
I love this movie.
Yeah, it's really good. It's not one of my favorite movies. I think I'll have to rewatch it eventually, but it's pretty damn good.
Yeah,
for what it
I
is.
think because I think I was really surprised by this, and the reason I was more surprised by it than I was with Oldboys because I guess I expected Oldboy to be good, and then I expected the other Oldboy to be bad. Whereas with this, I had no idea what to expect. So when I got this really great film, I was like floored. I was just like, wow, this is fantastic.
It's better than Oldboy though.
I agree.
Wait, you like it more?
Oh, well, wait. So, well, it's better than 2013.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
I think I would say the original Oldboy is better than this.
Yeah. So to be fair, it's Hydrogen Bomb versus Hydrogen Bomb. So
yeah, exactly. Versus
Coffee
Coffee
my
Baby.
ratings are different between both films.
I rated this the same as Oldboy, but I think upon rewatch, those ratings may change, may stay the same. Whatever. They are different films. They're going for different things, but I still appreciate.
You didn't give Oldboy a 6 or 7 out of 10.
I'm sorry.
Instead of complaining about that it's not higher and complaining about that it's not lower.
Yeah.
You know the joke.
Yeah.
I predicted you -1 rating.
Oh, I can't believe I gave a good movie a good score. I'm sorry.
Okay, now back to Training Day on the other hand.
Yeah. So I feel like one of the big things we should definitely bring up with this movie is Denzel himself.
Yeah. Wow, he's just great. He's genuinely so great and cunning in his performance and how he's able to kind of like manipulate Jake and kind of the audience since he's pretty charismatic, to be fair.
I did notice that, yeah. So starting off, you do start to you start off thinking, okay, he's a bit of a hard ass. He's a bit of a character, if you will, an eccentric character, but he's intelligent. You know he's intelligent. You know he's smart. You know he's crazy, but you don't doubt his skill set. But as the movie progresses, as does as the main character starts to question him, you as the audience start to question him. And I like that. I like that us as an audience, we really do start to question essentially the person who we shouldn't be questioning. Like he's supposed to be the the trainer, essentially, the guy training the rookie. He's the mentor. He's the mentor character. But we start to doubt his mentorship, like, to the point that he eventually becomes what people would probably consider the villain of the movie. He's definitely antagonistic. I will say that. He's definitely the antagonist of the movie. But I have seen some reviews call him the villain of the movie, and I don't know if I'm necessarily there with them. But the fact that I'm questioning that is very important, because that just shows you how much of a well-defined character he is, where you're kind of going back and forth, like, huh, wait a minute.
Kind of makes sense. Like it makes sense why he's doing it, considering what we know of the climax of the film. I'm able to spoil the film. Yeah, this is a podcast about the film. Of course I can.
Yeah, of course you can.
Yeah, where he's paying the Russian mafia because he killed one of their men after an insult. It makes sense. It makes sense why he does not want to die, but still.
Yeah, you start to the hard ass, like, oh, street thug, like, you think he's like this really cool guy. That image starts to melt away, and you see this kind of a pathetic dude. Just honestly, he's pathetic by the end, which is really funny because, again, just kind of skip. I feel like we don't have to go through every scene like we did with the Oldboys, but because I feel like we want to just get like the basic stuff down. It's really funny that one of the big lines from this movie, it's towards the end when he is like screaming his head off at all the neighborhood guys that were working for him, essentially, and he's screaming at them for kind of being disloyal to him because they're starting to see just how pathetic he is, and they're starting to side with Jake. And he goes, "King Kong ain't got shit on me." Like, he says that, and that apparently is like one of the biggest lines to come out of this movie, like one of the most famous lines, which is really funny to me because it comes from the character who's saying it at his lowest point, and yet King Kong ain't got shit on me is supposed to like hype you up, be like, "Oh, that's such a cool line," but it comes from him at his lowest point, and you don't really care. You're just like, oh, like, that's just pathetic, dude. Like, this dude's lame now, you know? I just think that's really fascinating.
That is honestly pretty great line, and especially in context of the film, considering that that Jake got his money, is going to turn it into the police.
Yeah, no, it's a great line, and it's great within context because it shows him at his lowest point. I just think it's funny that people have taken that line and kind of used it as like a cool guy line, where it's really not happening at a cool moment for the character.
There's also the scene in the first act where Alonzo forces Jake to smoke the weed.
Yeah,
which is terrifying, but still.
Yeah, and again, he does it because he trusts Alonzo. He's like, oh, he's this guy with authority. I should trust him. So sure, it's a little unorthodox, but he's made results. I should trust him. But it's still smoking weed.
Yeah, he's a cop.
Yeah,
and they can do a piss test or a blood test, and that can make him lose his job.
But again, just because he has a badge, that doesn't mean like he gets special treatment. Like, he's a person. He's a human being. It's ironic that he's doing that.
Human being.
Okay. Yeah, where people will get arrested for that, whereas he can just do that and no consequences come from it. Which, again, it just shows you that's the thing with Jake, is that you think, oh, because he's the rookie, he doesn't know anything. He's here to learn. But Jake himself still has that moral code, which is important. So that I want to talk about Jake for a little bit, because yes, Denzel steals the show, and Denzel is very much the main draw of this movie. But it is Jake who is the main character. We are viewing the movie from Jake's perspective. And what I appreciate about the movie, and about Jake specifically, is that even though he is the vessel for the audience, where we're kind of viewing the movie from his perspective, like we're supposed to put ourselves in his shoes, he is still also an actual character at the end of the day. So he has his own bit of moral code, like his own morals, his own code of ethics, where he does do things his own way, not as flamboyantly or as eccentrically as Denzel's character, but regardless, there is still something there. And that is that he is deep down a good person. Might be a little basic, but as the movie shows, there's a lot of bad people out there in the world who will just do bad shit because, oh, the world is a dark and cruel place. I need to do bad shit to get through life. And Jake is not one of those people. And one of the biggest things, one of the things he needs to go through, one of the things he needs to experience while going through this movie is realizing that having that moral code is what makes him significant. It's what makes him him. And it's also what gets him, what helps him by the end.
Yeah.
So
like one scene, after he smokes the weed, which turns out to be, what was that again?
It was like laced with like PCP.
Yeah. He sees a girl that's about to get he raped.
He sees the teenage girl in the alleyway about to get raped.
Yeah.
And so
then he saves her, even though he's a little hopped out on weed. He still has morality, and he does the right thing.
He still has the morale. He still has the wherewithal to know that he's a police officer. He needs to uphold justice, the law, good consciousness, whatever. Like he is somebody who needs to be moral. Like whether,
and that was not even part of the plan, Alonzo's plan. More on that later.
Yeah. So then Alonzo is just like, oh, but Alonzo sees him as beating up a bunch of homeless thugs. He's just like, that's funny. And then like Alonzo gets to like, interrogate and like kind of scare the piss out of those homeless guys. But yeah, so Jake does end up saving that girl's life, and he notices that she dropped her wallet. So then he takes it to have it.
And the girl is 14. I do not want to mention you know who again. I'm not doing it.
Anyway. But what I love...
Oh, it's fun to make fun of him, though.
Well, of course, you have to. But anyway, yeah, I love that scene because it just shows that Jake's a good guy, and it gives more opportunity for Alonzo to mug the camera, to be like, I'm Denzel, I'm doing again. Denzel is highly entertaining in this movie, so he earns every scene he's in.
This is actually the first time I've seen it for a minute.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
But what I love,
so it's like an introduction.
But it's such a good scene because it shows the two and how they would handle a situation like that. But again, that plays into later. So I guess to jump ahead, when Alonzo takes Jake to that house with all those other thugs, it just so happens that one of the thugs is related to that girl. But we don't find that out until later. So Jake is there playing a card game because he's kind of roped into it. And then
there's also Tuco Salamanca.
Yeah. And that's and that's when he realizes, he's just like, hey, Alonzo, we got to leave. But Alonzo already left, man. Alonzo already left him to be there. Yeah. Oh, dude, when you look out the window and you don't see the car there, it's just like, he's trapped, man. He's trapped. Yeah. So then they're about to kill him. They're about to like, oh, I love that. They take him into the bathtub. They're about to shoot him, and they search him to try and take his money, and they find the wallet. And that's when one of them, Smiley, the specific thug, Smiley's just like, hey man, this is my cousin. What are you doing with her wallet? And that's when he calls her and he interrogates her and be like, hey, were you almost attacked? And she's like, yeah, I admitted I was almost attacked. Yeah. And because Jake did that one good deed, he's rewarded. In that one moment saved his life. Do you know what didn't save his life? Any of Alonzo's bullshit. Like, yes, the world is a cruel place. Yes, the streets are riddled with crime and thugs and gangsters and drugs and murder and rape and whatnot. But there's still good. There's still good people in this world who will do good things. And good things can still lead to even gooder things. You just...
can we talk about the scene where Alonzo kills Roger?
we should
I
we should
mean,
jump back down to that scene. So
yeah,
that because that is the scene where because like as eccentric because Alonzo is just showing how eccentric he is. He's breaking into people's houses, pretending to have a warrant, and it's just like a takeout menu for a Chinese restaurant. He's like
yeah.
going
He's
over.
basically just stealing money from that woman.
Yeah, he's stealing money from that just to steal money from that woman. He's going over
Yeah,
to. He's treating people like trash. It's scummy, but like in a way that you're just like, oh, that's funny. Like at first, it's like the unlike it's like the likable asshole. Like I was saying earlier when describing Joe Doucette, who was not like you actually are falling for how charismatic Denzel is,
yeah.
and even Jake is starting to fall for it until they break into Roger's house, a character we met earlier,
Hmm.
and the Denzel straight up just murders the dude. And Jake is just like, this is too far. But Denzel makes a good point in saying, like, dude, he sold drugs to kids. Like,
Yeah,
which is true. That is true. Rogers was not a good person. But
yeah,
Jake still saw some humanity in that guy.
yeah. Hell, I'm pretty sure Alonso was kind of friends with Roger. Well,
He
probably
was.
manipulated him.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
then he even admits, like, I was friends with him, but also I was trying to nail him for 10 years. It's just like, holy shit, dude. Like, who are you? Like, you are a
yeah,
psychopath. Do you have any connections? Do you make connections with anybody? Who are you? You're psychotic, which he is. That's when you start to realize, okay, the eccentricities of this character are no longer funny. This is like bad.
hmm,
Like, holy shit, dude. It that's when it's real bad. I mean, and then it leads to the house scene with the thugs and the almost dying thing, and that just absolutely sets off Ethan Hawke, where he's just like, all right, enough is enough. That does it. Like, I can't do this anymore. Leading
yeah,
to a pretty exciting climax where he sneaks back into the house.
mhm,
Which I love how that's incorporated, because like earlier when they go to that neighborhood and everybody's surrounding them, uh Alonzo says specifically, like, don't walk into this neighborhood without me. In which case, later in the movie, Jake walks into the neighborhood and everyone's just like, hey man, you don't belong here. But he's still just walking in because he really just has no fear anymore.
I wonder if Alonso's son was either playing the original Xbox or Dreamcast. I do not really know.
Yeah, I was wondering that. I was just like, what's he playing?
Yeah. Was he playing Sonic Adventure 2? Oh wait, those sound effects are not in Sonic Adventure 2. Never mind. Unless it's just like Son of the Mask.
Yeah, exactly.
Mario Kart. It's cartoon sound effects.
If only. If only.
Yeah. Yeah. But
So
that's an episode for another time since you already did the mask. You have to do Son of the Mask eventually.
eventually.
And Ralph Big's here. It's
Oh, now you're just depressing me.
yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, and I do like that Jake does end up getting the trust of of Alonzo's people at the end, because that's again when people start to realize like other people start to realize, okay, Alonzo is like a massive manipulative piece of shit. Like again, like I said, the eccentricities, the the jerkishness of Alonzo is no longer funny. It's just kind of sad and pathetic at that
Yeah.
point. But I love that.
Yeah.
I think that makes the character far more fascinating.
Mm. Yeah. I honestly agree with you with that as well, to be honest.
Yeah. Can I talk about how on this DVD I have of the movie that there's an
Yeah.
alternate ending?
Wait, there's an alternate ending. Do you see it?
So I did watch it. Now, so the real ending of the movie is that Alonzo, Ethan Hawke takes away the money that Alonzo was going to give to the Russians. Alonzo drives away, and in the middle of an abandoned street, a bunch of Russian cars surround him and just completely blow him to kingdom come. Like, he just straight up dies.
Come.
Yeah. So then it cuts to Ethan Hawke driving home like getting out of his car, walking into his house, and as he's like driving home and like walking into his house after a long training day, uh you hear like radio announcements being like, "Oh, Officer Alonzo so and so was found dead. The LAPD veteran of 13 years, blah blah blah." Like it's basically going off about like, "Oh, what a great guy Alonzo was. He is survived by his wife and 4 children," and like painting this picture of a great man when he wasn't. Even though, and the whole movie, Alonzo was basically saying like, "Hey, do you want to go home? Do you want to go to jail? Do you want to die? Do you like?" He even says he has a specific line he says to Jake at one point where he's just like, "Officer Jake Hoyt survived by his wife and daughter," or something like that. So like, and that comes back into play when the radio specifically says he is survived by his wife and 4 children. In the alternate ending I saw, it basically plays out the same way, where like Alonzo gets shot up by the Russian mafia, and then it cuts to Ethan Hawke going home, and he gets out of his car in his driveway, and the 3 guys that they had met at the restaurant come up to him. You know how Alonzo describes them as the 3 wise men?
Yes.
Yeah, so they get out of their car and they go up to Ethan, and they're just like, they go up to Jake Hoyt and they're just like, "Hey, where's the money?" And he's like, "In the evidence." And they're like, "Oh, okay." He's like, "Now leave me alone." And then he walks away, and then it starts playing like the whole "Oh, Officer Alonzo so and so," like then the radio starts playing. And that's all it changes. Like it just shows the 3 wise men coming up to like confront him about the money, and then they just leave. So kind of a weird alternate ending. Doesn't really add anything. In fact, it kind of makes the falling action less interesting. Like I like that Denzel is shot, he's dead, and then it just cuts to Ethan Hawke like going home. He doesn't even see his wife and daughter. Like you just see him walk into his house like after a long day as the radio is playing. Like that's all you need. Like I think that works better. Like it's such a perfect way to end the movie.
That's one hell of a day.
Yeah. What a day.
Just like Leon S. Kennedy's first day as a police officer in Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, exactly. Just like
you know what happens there, right?
The only experience I have with Resident Evil is through watching the Only Plays playthroughs.
Oh.
I think I vaguely remember the Resident Evil 2 playthrough, but I don't remember what exactly happens. But I'm going to assume he had a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Even worse than what happened with Jake.
Well, if it involves zombies, I'm sure it is a million times worse.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just love how this movie takes place all in one day. I love that because then it makes the pacing feel more purposeful. How like every scene builds upon itself into like just this one day of all these events happening. It just makes it feel more impactful, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Oh God, I just really enjoyed this movie a lot more than I was expecting. I was really surprised by it. I guess one of the last things I want to talk about is it doesn't really have anything to do with the movie itself. It's just, I don't know if you saw on Letterboxd, but apparently they're making a prequel to this movie.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which
I don't know how that would work, but
so the prequel is supposed to be about Denzel's character early on, and it's supposed to be about like the Rodney King incident of like the early 90s, which I kind of get, but after watching them, at first I was like, before I watched the movie, I'm just like, "Huh, that's kind of interesting," but after watching the movie, I'm like, absolutely the fuck not. Do not make this movie at all.
Yeah.
First of all,
he shouldn't.
First of all, the reason the character of Alonzo works is because of Denzel. If you hire a younger actor, it is not going to be the same thing. You can have him do his best Denzel impression. It is not going to work at all.
Yeah.
It's
a one-of-a-kind performance.
It's a one-of-a-kind performance.
It's a performance that elevates the film.
Exactly. Second of all, Alonzo is not a main character. He is absolutely like the most interesting character you can say. Sure, I agree. But he is not the main character. He is not made to be a main character. He is meant to be a side / antagonistic character. The main character is Jake. Like, straight up, you cannot make a movie where Alonzo is the main character. It is not going to work. Especially because Alonzo is a piece of shit. You cannot make like, I know they will try, but trust me, this is not like Oldboy, where actual, like, skilled, talented writers are going to write this movie. It is going to be some hack who is going to write this piece of shit character and try to make him likable and cool, and it is going to fall flat on its face. It's not going to work. It's going to be horrible. I can already imagine it's going to be horrible. So be on the lookout for the Training Day 2 episode, I'm sure.
Training Day 2 with hot. Oh wait, you would have to own High and Low.
Yeah. So
yeah,
maybe not.
Yeah, we'll have to do a sequel to this episode.
Yeah, Oldboy 3.
It would probably just be High and Low, but in Spike Lee's High and Low remakes, it would make a lot of sense.
Oh god, yeah.
Unfortunately.
So many remakes. So
yeah,
we didn't obviously have that much to say about Training Day comparatively to Oldboy, but
to be fair, I'd rather do an Adam Sandler episode. No, anyway.
But anyway, yeah,
you know, that is actually a pretty interesting idea. Like 2 other guests. You own any dumbass Adam Sandler films, right?
Do I? I don't think I do. I don't know. Look, it's not entirely off the table. I'll say that. I'll say that.
Yeah, like 3 films. One person picks each.
Yeah,
that would be a pretty interesting idea.
I'm sure I could come up with something.
Yeah.
So. But anyway, my point being, even though we didn't have that much to say about Training Day, comparatively speaking to Oldboy, I still am glad I watched this. I'm glad I introduced it to you because, well, again, I was introducing it to me. So I'm thinking, because I was watching this movie on its DVD, I think it's an interesting DVD. Although I might give it away to upgrade it to like maybe a nice 4K. I don't know.
That would be a good idea.
I'm still on the fence because I kind of like the old aesthetic of old, like, late 90s, early 2000s DVDs and like the clicking case. Like, I think that's really cool. So I don't know. But regardless, this definitely has found a place in the collection for sure. No matter, like, the movie itself has found a place in the collection. So
yeah, it's definitely deserved.
Absolutely. So
yeah,
are you thinking of adding it to your collection, or what are you thinking?
Maybe one day. Definitely not right now. I'm trying to make sure I save money since I went on vacation recently, and well, yeah,
no,
I wasn't able to work.
No, I get it. I absolutely get it. I mean,
you know, it's fun to be on vacation, not be at work.
Yeah, but also I understand the whole saving money for movies that actually matter. So
yeah. The only thing I bought myself that I actually wanted was this mic I got recently that I'm using right now.
That you're using right now on Too Many Movies. How about that?
Yeah. So. We may have talked about a little too many movies today, to be fair. Like, how long is this recording so far?
Oh, another 3-hour episode, my guy. Oh
God.
I can't escape these 3-hour episodes.
I didn't expect that either. I expected maybe like less than 2, but no, we had to go through both Oldboys scene by scene. But to be fair, that's probably the best I can do.
Hey, if any movie needs to go scene by scene, it's Oldboy. I totally get it.
Definitely. So. It deserves that. It's incredible.
All right. With that said, Terminall, please shout out any stuff you want, dude. Where can people find you?
Okay, so I mainly have a Letterboxd account, which I'm mostly use for watching movies. I also have a YouTube account, which I don't really post much. I did post some anime opening parodies years ago. They're not the best, but they exist. And I also made 2 real videos. Well, one of them being real, one of them being a shit post within in a year. But I do want to improve making videos since I've been planning on making like something like some videos dedicated to Knuckles, especially maybe even a Kung Fu Panda Void video explaining why that film doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I also have backlogged. You know what backlogged is, right?
Yeah, that's a video game one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also have Twitter, which I also have a Twitter account, which you do not really need to link because I do not really use.
Good.
Because I do not really post anything on there, so that'll be pointless.
Good.
So it's not necessary to post it in the description.
Oh, well, the rest of your links will be in the description for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have a question for you.
Oh.
I have this thing. I have this rag right here. In this umbrella with this weird pattern on there. Can you smell this rag to see if it smells like chloroform real quick?
All right, let me see if this smells like chloroform. Hey, it does. It does. What the fuck?
I'm also in your house.
Oh, no.
That's how I was able to do it.
Oh, God, no. Get out of my house.
You see, the joke is I'm going to imprison him for 15 years for giving Morbius. It's a 3 out of 10 on his first watch. Goodbye, anybody. Outro now.
Goodbye, everybody. Next episode in 20 years.
You're so see sleep. Okay. You're watching Hundreds of Beavers. Can I send it to you?
You can send me something. That's fine.
Okay.
Let me just fixing the audience. Let me see. Wait. I love this. This is awesome. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that.